I am a Liverpudlian, and I come from the Spion Cup. I love to sing, I love to shout, I get thrown out quite a lot. We support the team that's dressed in red. It's a team that you all know. It's a team that we call Liverpool, and to glory we will go. We've won the league.
Hello and welcome to the Plastic Scousers podcast season review. My name is Matt Simpson and this is my co-host, a man who can name every country beginning with a vowel. It's Owen Collins.
Yes, thank you very much, Matt. That is true, I can.
And please take it away. We are looking forward to hearing it.
Well, I mean, I was hoping you wouldn't ask, but okay. There's Austria, Australia, Albania, Egypt, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Estonia, India. That's just to name but a few.
You have named but a few. Would you like to name a few more?
Yeah, go on. There's Uruguay, Uzbekistan, Oman. There's a few more.
I mean, yes.
Afghanistan.
Yes, indeed, there are a few more. Yeah, I'm enjoying them. Tell us a few more.
A few more. Well, there's England, of course, and within that, or without that, the United Kingdom.
Of course.
The United Arab Emirates.
Well done.
The United States of America. Uganda, personal favourite of mine. I said Albania, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, there we go. All sorts.
Well, I'm surprised you forgot to mention Argentina, of course, which is a big one.
I didn't forget to mention it, I just chose not to.
Italy, did you mention that? That was another one?
Yeah, I did. I said Italy. Yeah.
Did you? What about Iran and Iraq? There were two there, right, for you?
Oh, well, I don't really class those as vowels, Matt.
Well,
Well, that's only an anglicisation, isn't it? If you look at it in the original Arabic, it's not actually a vowel at all, interestingly enough. If you spell it in Arabic, and even if you then translate that back into the Roman alphabet, it actually begins with a consonant.
Consonant.
Begins with a Q, yeah.
Interesting.
So, out of respect for that, I choose not to class those ones.
Yes, but most disappointingly, you forgot the small Pacific island of East Timor.
Oh, well, again, that's actually commonly known as Timor-Leste.
It is, I will forgive you for that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Timor-Leste. I've got a scarf from Timor-Leste.
Have you? I heard, isn't he going to sign for City next season?
Timor-Leste?
Yeah.
No, we're going to get there first, actually.
16-year-old wonder kid from Brazil.
He is, our new goalkeeper.
Yes. Anyway, enough about countries beginning with vowels. As we reach the penultimate month of the season, we here at the
Not that Brazil was one of them. But...
we're here at the Plastic Scousers. We're bringing all the games, goals and talking points for a crucial month for Liverpool Football Club. There's a healthy 7 matches to discuss in both domestic and European competition, with the usual dose of insight and irreverence that you never grow tired of.
Iceland. I forgot Iceland.
There you go.
Iceland. As well as that, we remind ourselves of some of the players to ruin the number 10 position in our despicable 11, and the funniest feature we've ever done is back once again. But first, there is a lot of football to get through. A lot of football. So let's kick straight off with Manchester City at home in the Champions League.
The biggest game of the season, I think, at this point.
Yeah, definitely so far. Matt, just out of interest, where were you watching the game?
Was it a Wednesday? I think it was, wasn't it?
It was a Wednesday.
I would have otherwise been unavailable, sadly, to watch it. So where were you watching it?
Well, I made damn sure I got to watch it because, if nothing else, I knew that I wasn't actually going to be able to see the second leg. So I hoped that we'd sort of finish it off in the first leg. More on that later. But I was in an Irish pub in Dubrovnik in Croatia.
Of course you were. Not that Croatia, of course, a country not beginning with a vowel.
No, but it did give the world day in Lovren.
Who doesn't begin with a vowel?
No, but as you know, I do make a habit of only going on holiday to countries that have had a Liverpool player in the squad in the last few years.
Yes. He may not begin with a vowel, but he often begins with a foul.
He often ends with a foul as well, worse luck. But
sorry, go on. I didn't interrupt.
Well, yeah, no, I was on holiday with the missus, so we went to an Irish pub to watch the game, despite her not being a football fan in the slightest. But I said, "Come on, you'll enjoy this," and so I got my shirt on, and the only table we could find was next to, well, it was 2 chairs spare, so we sort of sat next to the table, but not at the table, with a Manchester United fan and his mates, and he was very conflicted as to who he wanted to win, as you would be if you were a Man United fan. And it wasn't the best atmosphere I've been in watching an Irish pub Liverpool game abroad. But there was a group of, I think they were foreign as well. They weren't from Croatia, but a group of lads on the other side of a pub, and we sort of between us managed to invent a new chant, which I'm very pleased with, and which I hope, if I can ever get back to Anfield, we will be able to make take off.
Please.
Well, it's to the tune of it's a song whose name I can't. It's a song by the Art Company. That's it. Which is the English name for a band called Vofty Kunst.
Careful, this is a family-friendly podcast.
No, it bloody isn't. Yeah, Vofty Kunst, the Dutch band, also known as the Art Company, and it's a song called Susanna that probably came to it was number 1 in the Netherlands in 1983, but it's probably better known for a Ricky Martin cover over here. But it goes, Susanna, bum 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 bum, Susanna, bum 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 bum, Susanna, I'm crazy loving you. It just goes on a lot like that, really. But with classic copyright ingenuity, as soon as it came on the jukebox, just before the first half started, it very quickly became Mo Salah, bum 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 bum, Mo Salah, bum 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 bum, Mo Salah, I'm crazy in love with you, bum 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 bum, Mo Salah, Mo Salah, Mo Salah, I'm crazy in love with you, and on and on and on.
Brilliant. Well, good story.
So anyway, the next game was the Merseyside Derby.
No. Whilst I appreciate the comic timing, actually, we should talk about this game.
Probably should.
Yeah, because I tell you what, you and I had sort of different opinions as to how we felt about drawing Man City, because they were the only 2 English clubs left in the competition, Liverpool and Man City. So for us to have to meet them seemed a little bit unlucky, particularly because obviously they were flying in the league, going to win it at Cantor, and he
plays for Chelsea, Matt.
Kante. Again, family-friendly podcast, but it's I know you didn't feel as worried than I was.
No, I wasn't worried at all. Weirdly, I thought we could easily take them. Well, not easily, but
no.
We beat them in the league, and of course, at this point, we were still the only team to beat them in the league. And I just remember thinking that if we could do it once, we could do it again. We knew how to do it, and we were capable of doing it.
I mean,
I was fairly confident.
But even if we were capable of doing it, obviously having lost so heavily away in early on in the season, it still extremely nervous about it. And actually, we'd only won 4-3 by conceding a couple of late goals in that league game.
But we wouldn't do that again.
No, of course not throughout the season. But it was Man City sort of turned up, and there was a big call for them because with our squad we were sort of running out of defenders, so we saw young Connor Masterson on the bench for the first time since the Exeter game a couple of years ago.
I know, that was a bit of a turn up for the books, wasn't it?
Yeah, we sort of run out of centre backs at this point.
I was kind of hoping he'd get on, to be honest.
Yeah, well, he could have done, but sadly not. But more interesting from Man City's point of view is that they didn't play Raheem Sterling from the start. Obviously, with the reception he always gets at Anfield, they decided to keep him out the side. And obviously the front three that they'd had with either Aguero, Jesus and Sane and Sterling either side were one of the reasons they were going to win the league. But decided not to play him and play Gundogan instead and try and block up the midfield. It kind of shows you how much in Guardiola's head Klopp has got. Because Guardiola is trying to outmaneuver Klopp because it's the one manager that is constantly giving him a problem.
Well, was this not the 6th time he'd played Guardiola and Klopp and faced each other?
Oh, it's more than that, isn't it?
I'm
pretty sure. I think it might be 10 times.
Was it 10?
I think so, because I know that Klopp's beaten him more times than anyone else. Like, I think it was like the 4th time when we beat them in the league, and no one else had done that. And there was still, and I know that a few times, like Bayern had won a couple of games, and they Dortmund had played Barcelona in the Champions League way back as well. So,
I suppose, yeah.
So either way, Guardiola is sort of Klopp is like Guardiola's one thing. He just can't seem to work out how to beat. And this time he tried to go away and block up the midfield, try to dominate the ball, and try and keep us out. But holy,
Klopp tonight.
Huh?
Klopp tonight. Like kryptonite, but Klopp.
He's Klopp tonight. Ah, you see, I just thought you were talking about something you'd done with Klopp this evening.
Yeah, I feel like Klopp tonight.
I feel like Klopp tonight. But enough procrastinating, because holy shit, what a first half hour of game this was.
Yeah, well, there was about 10 minutes when actually it looked a bit nervy. And then after that first 10 minutes, we were just unstoppable. We were kind of like, it was all Liverpool. It was fantastic. Yeah, well, particularly, obviously, quite an important event happened after the first 10 minutes, which was the first goal of the fixture.
We took the lead, and there's no way, it's not going to be anyone else.
No, Mo Salah, bam, 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 Mo Salah, bam, 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 bam. I'll tell you what, you'll have that in your head when you wake up in the morning.
I probably will.
Which is what Jurgen Klopp said to me earlier tonight. Anyway, family-friendly podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was sort of offside, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was
Let's cut to the chase.
It was a little bit offside, but it was also some terrible defending from Man City that gave us like 2 or 3 opportunities. Firmino, having a go and then missing and passing it to Salah to sort of finish it into an empty net, basically. And
well, it was Salah sort of set up Firmino, and Firmino did quite well to get hold of it, but it was a pretty weak shot in the end from Bobby, and luckily Salah was there to just sort of, well, he did well to recover it and get it back to Salah, it was a sort of tap in, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1-0 up, doing exactly what we did against them at Anfield earlier in the season, and just leaving them stranded at the back, and it was a fantastic start to the game. And then 10 minutes later, it got even better.
Now, this was exceptional.
From someone who hasn't done this for us this season that often.
No, a man who is only just, winning people around, I think it's fair to say, isn't it? He's still not necessarily convinced everyone, but he's getting there. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's James Milner sets him up with his 6th assist of the Champions League campaign.
I mean, it may be more.
7th?
I can't remember. Yeah.
I'm losing track. But it was a really good little rob. The ball sort of slides it through to Oxlade-Chamberlain. It wasn't like a wonder pass or anything like that, but it was just enough of a tap to lay it in his path. And from outside the area, the Ox just absolutely hammers it, and it just flies in.
The keeper doesn't move.
No. Well, there'd be no point. It was just absolute, perfect placement. After 20 minutes of what we thought was going to be a really nervy tie, we're 2-0 up. We're 2-0 up, and we are absolutely dominant.
Yeah, and we're flying past them. And actually, Oxlade-Chamberlain, of course, scored both Anfield ties against Man City. Both brilliant goals as well. And I mean, what a way to endear yourself to the fans who are obviously playing a very difficult side in a European quarter-final, to absolutely hammer in a goal after 20 minutes.
I think that was a moment Oxlade-Chamberlain became a Liverpool player.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And I think it's with Coutinho having left, there was that vacant spot for that kind of, and with Lallana being injured, that kind of first point of attack from the midfield. And Oxlade-Chamberlain seems to be fitting that perfectly more and more with each game.
Yeah, he does, and he offers us something we didn't have before.
That kind of pace in midfield, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, pace, and just he's a lot more physical than Coutinho. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, whilst he doesn't have the technical
he's much more
ability like Coutinho does, he's got pace drive. He's almost like Salah or Mane. He's constantly running off on channels, pressing up against defenders. It's Klopp down to the ground.
He's just a bit beefier than Voster, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He's a bit more of a unit, as they say these days.
And a good character in the dressing room as well.
He is. And, I mean, have you seen his shaving technique?
Yes, well, this is something to talk about at a later date. But we have another nomination for non-football moment of the season from Nivea. So thanks to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, I feel the Nivea adverts are ever diminishing returns at the moment. But like you say, we'll come to that in our end of season podcast. Because I mean, it was only 10 minutes after that absolute thunderbolt from Oxlade-Chamberlain that our passage, if not to the semi-final, then at least to cloud 9, was confirmed. Sadio Mane getting a third in half an hour
with a header, the smallest man on the pitch.
And again, it was almost Salah, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a brilliant cross, perfectly weighted, and Mane's got a simple header. As I say, he's the smallest man on the pitch, so it's one hell of a little pass to pick him out, and we're in dreamland. I
mean, it was fantastic reaction from Mane as well, because Salah originally sort of went to cross it to him, hit Man City defender, can't remember who it was, and Mane sort of obviously misjudged the run, slipped over and was down. But as soon as he saw the ball had bounced back off a defender to Salah, he was up straight away again, completely sort of wrong-footed the Man City defence, and literally like a sort of mountain goat, it was down and straight back up again. So when the ball just sort of got lofted over, he rose, just caught them napping, nodded home. Unbelievable. 3-0 up. I couldn't believe it.
In the European Champions League quarter-final against the best team in England, if not the world right now.
In half an hour.
We've torn them to bits.
Yeah, we absolutely did. It was basically like the second half performance in the Man City game at Anfield early in the season, but from the start, like the whole way through so far. Do you know what I mean? That sort of mad, 8 minutes we had in the second half?
Yeah.
When we went 4-1 up. It was like that, but just the whole game.
Well, certainly for that 20-minute spell. I mean, going into half-time, we didn't, once we looked threatening, we sort of eased off a little bit, but City never really looked like threatening us. So, going into half-time 3-0 up, I don't think anyone could quite believe it.
Well, the guy who sat next to me, the Man United fan, was very annoyed. I wasn't sure who he wanted to win, but he'd had a bet on that both teams would score in both halves.
Oh, really?
So I think by that point he didn't really care if Liverpool won 5-2, as long as I don't know why I picked that result, but as a sign of things to come. He just wanted both. He wanted Man City to at least get one back in the first half.
Well, to be fair to him, I can understand him wanting teams to score, because being a Man United fan, it's not often he gets to see that. So.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you've got to get your. It's like an extramarital affair, isn't it? You've got to see it somewhere.
Exactly. Anyway, come out in the second half. Come out in the second half, and I mean, City were better, but we, every time we sort of could break against them, we looked like we might score again. But I think particularly if we could keep them out, them not scoring an away goal would just be one hell of a bonus.
Yeah, and actually, this was the best defensive performance I'd seen from us all season.
We made it look easy, which is testament to how well we did.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but we made it. We did it extremely well. Like we just held out. Do you know what I mean?
Well, what I love is the fact that, apart from the fact Virgil van Dijk has obviously changed our defence dramatically, and, Trent and Robertson and even Lovren now looks a great player as a result, and Karius is having a thing. What impressed me most was the fact that we're playing arguably the best midfield in Europe, with James Milner, a man who's way past it, Jordan Henderson, who everyone seems to slate and thinks he parks backwards 50 yards, and Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's an Arsenal reject, and they've just dominated it. Vindication for all of them, in my opinion.
It is, but it's also it's we do this with European Cup runs. Do you know what I mean? We have good runs in Europe with players that won't win us the league.
Maybe.
I just think, look at 2005.
That's true, yeah. Well, I was thinking about, how 2005 was. Actually, I'll come on to that later, don't worry.
Okay.
But there was one really worrying aspect of the game, the only real negative to take away from it. On the 52nd minute, Mo Salah's taken off with an injury.
Yeah, that was a slight...
Well, slight? It was like absolute panic.
Touching cloth moment, should we call it?
Touching Klopp? No.
Ooh. Yes,
Family-friendly
I must
podcast.
have my webcam turned on by accident. Family-friendly podcast. Yeah, it was, like you say, it was not long after half-time, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
well, there's two sides to his sword, two edges, as they say, because it doesn't just mean that we are obviously less of a threat going forwards, but it's like we've lost his talisman.
Mm.
So actually, if it does anything, this Salah coming off with injury, because we know now that it wasn't a long-term problem, but it just made our defensive performance even more incredible, because there is no team in the land that won't get a boost against Liverpool seeing Salah being substituted.
Mm. Very true. But obviously...
And it does just really highlight what performance, especially I want to pay particular attention to Trent Alexander-Arnold, because he'd had a rough old time of it the last couple of games. You know, against Man United he'd been quite poor. Against Crystal Palace he'd been, a bit stretched. And now against the best team, like you say, definitely in Europe, if not in the world, at the moment. And he just didn't look at all bothered. He was, as in, like, just not phased. No. He was a machine. He was brilliant.
Well, up against Leroy Sané, who's, Premier League Young Player of the Year, so...
Exactly, yeah.
Amazing.
His performance was insane.
I can't be bothered anymore.
All right.
Yeah, it's fine. But the rest of this game was pretty much a non-affair, and incredibly, the game ends 3-0, and I mean, I never saw us keeping Man City out, and two, I never saw us going over to their stadium with a 3-0, a 3-goal lead.
I wanted one more though. Do you know what I mean? 3-0 wasn't quite secure.
To be fair, with us, 5-0 isn't quite secure.
Well, no, but I would have really liked 4 on the night just to really put me. I think 4 is not going to happen, whereas 3 doesn't take much to get you worried. You know what I mean? 3 is within.
Yeah.
Particularly against a team that's as momentum dependent as Liverpool, 3 is definitely within reach once you've got 1. Whereas 4, you still need 3.
But I was also going to say that, particularly with Man City's ability to score goals.
Well, exactly, and until this night, our questionable ability to defend them. But like you say, it was a fantastic result to take to the Etihad with us. And although we did say when the draw came out, it's not great, it's not very romantic. We could be going to Rome, we could be going to Madrid, we could be going to Barcelona, we could be going to Munich, we could be going to
Turin.
Can't remember who. Turin, yeah. And we thought instead we're just going up the M62. But this was one of the all-time great European nights at Anfield.
Yep, another one for the list.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And we have that game coming up after a weekend match, so sandwiching the bread in a sandwich. And the team we're playing is actually Everton in the Merseyside derby.
Sandwiching the bread in a sandwich?
Yeah, Man City are the bread and an Everton sandwich.
Yeah, right, okay. For a minute I thought you meant Everton with a bread in the sandwich, and it was a bread sandwich.
Well, I mean, if we played Man City 3 times, then it would be.
Apparently, there was this, well, not apparently, I remember it. There was an article on BBC News a few years ago about how like the new trend in culinary circles was a toast sandwich. Because it was really cheap and it cost you about 8 pence. And basically, everyone thought, like, the way it was presented was, isn't this an amazing, new top tip in the kitchen? Rather than, isn't this a slightly damning indictment of British society that people are relying on toast sandwiches to be able to feed themselves? Anyway, I did think it looked quite nice. I've still not tried one, but there we go, toast sandwich.
One day. Yeah, we're at Goodison Park. Sorry. Yeah, we're at Goodison Park. Weekend game. With everything that we've got sort of in the Champions League, it meant that we didn't necessarily put out our strongest lineup here against Everton. So there's a few, Nathaniel Klein has his first start after his injury or whatever on earth was going on there.
For his collapsed septum.
Yeah.
That's libel.
Yeah, well, that's fine. It's still staying in. Ragnar Klavan played at left back, which
Yeah.
I didn't know how to explain that, particularly with Alberto Moreno on the bench. I was very surprised to see that.
He wasn't on the bench. Oh no, sorry. Yeah. Well, yes. We'll come to that. But,
I understand wanting to rest Robertson, who played a lot, but to put Klavan at left back was a bit of an indictment. Salah, obviously with the precautionary injury as it turned out, but still didn't play in this game. He was rested, and Roberto Firmino on the bench again played a lot this season. Ings and Solanke played up front.
is this the first time they've both started together? I can't remember.
I'm pretty certain it is. Yeah.
What was the? Unless they.
Ings wasn't fit early in the season. Don't forget.
The Leicester game.
Yeah, he would have been fit.
He wasn't. He was on the bench for that, wasn't he?
Yeah. So exciting. Along with Sadio Mane as a front three.
Well, it was exciting, and then it got even more exciting. Well, it was already quite an exciting bench for those of you who care about these sort of things, because it was the first ever appearance in the matchday squad of our new number 48, Curtis Jones.
Yes.
17-year-old lad from the academy, and again another appearance on the bench for Conor Masterson.
Yes.
But then he'd been on the bench against Man City, so it was no big deal for him.
Or as I wrote in the notes, both Masterson and Masterson were on the bench.
I did notice that, actually, yeah.
Apologies.
So good they named him twice. Masterson.
That was my bad.
Sounds like a butcher's, doesn't it?
It does.
Masterson and Masterson.
Yeah, apologise. I wrote the notes while drunk, so...
Some sort of dragon bone man. That's right, Matt. I'm half cut now.
Fine.
I'm not actually, but I might be by the end.
The thing is, the team lineup actually ended up being more interesting than the game.
Yeah, well, there was one other thing, but like you say, Alberto Moreno was originally on the bench, which made the Klavan thing a bit weird. But then he got injured in the warm-up, and so Rafael Camacho,
yes,
who took over the number 64 shirt from the late great Sergi Canos.
He's still alive, by the way.
Is he? Who cares? I don't know.
Probably the Canos family, I'd guess.
I don't know. What is he these days? Where is he? At Millwall
Brentford.
or something?
No, he's at Brentford, I think.
Is he back at Brentford?
He's back at Brentford.
Oh well, I'm happy for him. He got ideas above his station, didn't he, Sergi Canos?
He did, but it's fine. We've moved on, and he has too.
I clearly have. I definitely have. So Rafa Camacho was on bench. So we had three. I don't know what the correct term is when it's a club level, but uncapped. I'm just going to say uncapped.
Yeah.
Players on the bench. And I was really hoping we'd get to see some of them. But like you say, the team selection was more interesting than the game, because this was the worst game of the season from a spectator's point of view.
Oh, certainly from a Liverpool perspective, yeah. The dirge.
Yeah. It was just dreary, do you know what I mean?
You know, Everton played about as well as Everton have done all season under Sam Allardyce, which is terrible.
Poor.
And whilst they threatened us a bit more than they did at Anfield, where they got a very undeserved 1-1 draw, it never looked particularly dangerous. And I mean, we don't really have a lot to say on the game as a whole.
No, I mean, it's the worst Merseyside derby I can remember ever watching.
Yes, I don't disagree with that at all.
I don't think there's much more to say about it, to be honest. Solanke was a bit insipid. Ings had a couple of chances that he didn't take. None of the young lads came off a bench to make a debut, which was upsetting.
No.
The
most exciting thing was Wayne Rooney throwing a strop after being taken off after an hour.
Yeah, that was exciting. I did enjoy that.
Just nice to see him have a strop, really.
So it was, wasn't it? I don't like that man. It's nice to see him.
No, well, he's off to America soon. Spoiler alert. So.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, DC United. Home of Freddie Adu.
Yes, of course, but we don't care about him. So let's move on.
No.
Because there's a much more exciting game coming up, as we do indeed return to the Etihad for that second leg against Man City.
For the second bit of bread in the Everton sandwich.
Yes.
Yes.
with the 3-0 lead from the first leg, as we mentioned, very, very, very recently. But obviously, going to the Etihad was never going to be an easy task. Obviously, losing their 5-0 under mitigating circumstances very early on in the season, there was, whilst reasons to be positive, it was still quite nerve-wracking.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, if it had been 4-0, I wouldn't mind. But the fact it was 3-0, there was always a chance that Man City were going to get back into it. And that fear, it manifested itself quite early on, quite quickly, didn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at, just to mention the lineups, we went pretty much the strongest lineup as you'd expect. But Man City basically just put all their forwards on. They sort of went with a 3-0-7 formation and just went after us. And for the whole first half, we were just completely... It's the most under the cosh I've seen us all season. Like, we were just absolutely... Man City did what they do, but they did it really well, and we had to put everything on the line to stop them.
But again, our defence, which was obviously back to full strength now, but Robbo was back in at left back and Kleiny was back on the bench. Sorry, back on the bench. Back on the bench. Watching from the sidelines.
Right.
Salah was back in as well. It was our strongest team, but like you say, they didn't make the same mistake again in terms of Guardiola's lineup, and almost immediately we were on the back foot.
Yeah, and a couple of early errors ended up costing us a very early goal.
Well, I mean, there was a bit of a controversy because it looked like Virgil van Dijk was just bundled off the ball.
Yeah, but which he was, but at the same time he just needed to hoof into Rose Ed, really.
He did.
It's not very rare we sort of criticise Virgil van Dijk, but then I guess everyone's human, does make mistakes, and unfortunately this one ended up being costly, and we're very much on the back foot from here.
Yeah, it was 2 minutes in. They sort of intercepted it off him. He sort of just got bundled over the touchline. Lovren didn't cover himself in glory either.
No.
He sort of charged down whoever it was that scored. I think.
No, he went under pressure. I think it was Raheem Sterling tried to pressure, but left Gabriel Jesus on his own.
Yeah, and it was a tapping. It was a.
I mean, you want to give them a confidence boost to think they can get back into this. You've just given it to them.
Yeah, well, exactly. And, the one thing you wouldn't want to give a team in that situation is an early goal. Because, as I say, 3 goals with a bit of momentum, you can easily believe that you're going to make that back. And we gave them momentum straight away, and they had 88 minutes to score 2 goals.
Yeah.
Which is not a big ask for a team of Man City's attacking prowess.
No, and at home, of course, don't forget.
And at home.
So,
in the Champions League.
As we mentioned, the rest of this first half was just nervous. It was just backs to the wall, clear everything. And to be fair, Man City didn't create a great deal more after that first early goal. Which then means that an event that happened just before half-time changed the complete course of the tie.
Yes.
Can you remember what it was?
Let me check my notes.
Before I go into it.
I mean, I can, but go into it anyway.
Okay.
It was the offside thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So just before half-time, a couple minutes before half-time, Man City score another through Leroy Sané, sort of tapping in after a header from a free kick, and it's ruled out for offside, which was not the right decision. It was actually onside because I think it was Milner who played the ball, or it hit Milner and went back to Sané to score, which means that technically he wasn't offside until the last player played the ball and he was not. So, and with this being disallowed, Man City were furious. And particularly Pep Guardiola. So going into half-time, Guardiola's furious, and he's having a go at the ref, and, really, really genuinely angry that it's not been given. I think 1 or 2 other decisions they weren't happy about either. And, so what was stunning was when the second half started, Pep Guardiola wasn't on the bench. During the half-time break, the referee had sent him off. Extraordinary.
Extraordinary anyway. But in the quarterfinal of the Champions League.
In context, and particularly a man who is so calm, like whenever you see him speak, and he's so professional. What kind of outburst did he need to put out to do that?
Yeah.
And I, not to, denigrate it further, but it cost his side. It cost them, because in the second half they were nowhere near as good.
No, and I think partly that's the Guardiola thing, and partly it's just that sort of. I think it messed with their heads a bit, not getting that goal. You know, and you start to feel it's not your day.
No, and I mean,
you start to feel like this is you're destined not to get anywhere with this.
No.
And that's a really debilitating feeling. Do you know what I mean?
And we've hardly had an attack in that whole first half. But Oxlade-Chamberlain, right towards the end of the game, end of the half, did have our first real attempt, and I think that gave us a bit of confidence that we could go and get the away goal that would basically seal the tie, and then we did.
Yes, we did. And it was, who else would it be?
Yeah, that man Mo Salah. It wasn't going to be anyone else.
Sadio Mane. Mo Salah, yeah.
Incredible.
It was a fantastic bit of play. It started with Wijnaldum just inside our own half, didn't it? Plays up to Oxlade-Chamberlain, who slides it across to Salah. Just direct passing football that, you would look at it and think we were playing anyone but Man City. It's just cutting through a bit of soft cheese. And Salah slides it to Mane, who does really well. I think he nutmegs the defender. Gets basically hounded off the ball and tripped over. I'd have said it was a penalty, but didn't need to be because in came Mo Salah, bang.
Yeah, that was it. Delightful finish, chips over the keeper, and that's the away goal.
And that was it. From that point, really, with half an hour to go, Man City needing 4 goals. We were through.
Yeah, and it was, we never thought that, whilst we thought we were going to try and get through this, particularly after the 3-0 first result, we still didn't really believe we were going to win this tie. But when it's 1-1, you never know. And then with about 15 minutes to go, we take the lead in the tie.
Yes, through Bobby Firmino. It was just this was a point where Man City's heads just fully went. I can't remember the build-up to this one so much. I can remember it being a very acute angle.
Yeah, he actually nicked the ball off Otamendi, the defender.
That was it.
Yeah, and just broke through, and you thought he'd play it across to Salah or Mane in the box, but instead he just sticks it in at the near post.
And that's the thing, like you say, we're dispossessing defenders. Our strikers are tackling with their defenders and then scoring when we're already 4-1 up in the Champions League quarter-final. And it's that relentlessness that has served us so well this season. And, when Liverpool are so characteristically take their foot off the gas and it all starts going wrong, that is probably the best quality we've developed this season. It's not the ruthlessness in front of goal, it's the relentlessness. Yeah. It's the same with the other Man City game in January. Andy Robertson literally pressing all the way back to the goalkeeper. That literally just sort of go and go and go and go and go and sort of hounding them down right back into their own 6-yard box. And it's, we were 5-1 up against the champions of England and the best team in Europe in the Champions League. It's, insane.
Yeah, and the end comes, as you say. City have lost all effort to try and do anything with the game, and we win the tie at the Etihad. We've beaten Man City 3 times this season, and we are in the Champions League semi-final.
And by this point, we had actually scored 21% of all of the goals Man City conceded all season.
That's an amazing stat.
I know.
I just, it suddenly got real. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It suddenly, you suddenly started dreaming.
Yeah.
Because not only that, but also that this night, Barcelona got knocked out of Europe.
Yeah, by Yeah, Roma did this extraordinary comeback from 4-1 down in the first leg to win 3-0 at home.
Mm.
Absolutely amazing.
And it's just... That was it for me. It wasn't just us winning, it was Barcelona going out, and you think, well, hang on, who's going to stop us now?
Yeah.
It was Roma, Real Madrid, or Bayern Munich, and you thought, well, if we can beat Man City, why can't we beat any of those three?
Well, I mean, I think we'd overcome the hardest chat, considering that there were a lot of very jealous people who said that we were lucky in the draw, which I kind of understand in the group stage. We didn't have the most difficult group compared to someone like Spurs, and obviously Porto then could have had a harder draw there, but this result and the way we did it immediately said, right, no, we deserve to be here.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was the first, probably big team we'd put out, but
they were the favourites.
They were favourites, but it's like...
we won 5-1!
And also, we had to play 2 extra games to get to the bloody group stage to begin with.
This is true, yeah.
But yeah, it was...
And we'd scored 5 goals at least against every team we played.
God, yeah, that's true.
So... extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. Yeah. And then we found out who our semi-final opponents were going to be.
And it was Roma, which was, I think, probably the best case scenario.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, I kind of would like Bayern Munich, only because I don't think they're a shadow of themselves. I was glad to avoid Real Madrid, just because they've done this time and time again. The only problem was, of course, the first leg was at home, again, which we don't like.
No, it's a shame, because that atmosphere really, it's a cliche, but it really is a 12th man, isn't it? That Anfield European atmosphere. But, take the draw.
Yeah, absolutely. It could have been a lot worse. So, and we'll be talking about the first leg of that game, which was in late April, later on.
We will, indeed, yes.
Extraordinary. So, we move on.
For now, move on to Bournemouth.
Yes, at home.
At home. Bournemouth has not been our favourite team to play of late. Let's be honest.
No.
But then...
We'd beaten them earlier in the season, didn't we? If I remember,
it
was 4-0.
4-0. Yeah, it wasn't even close, was it? But I just think you can never be too careful.
No, and Bournemouth are quite unpredictable, I find, which is great, because I absolutely adore Bournemouth. I think they're brilliant and, a real benefit for the Premier League for everybody. So, particularly after another midweek game where we proved against Everton that we can struggle, this is another game after Europe that could be a very difficult one.
Yeah, and it's not just mental, physically, but mentally. It's a case of after the Lord Mayor's show. It's very much a sort of afterthought compared to just qualifying for the Champions League semi-finals.
Yeah.
You got to go and play Bournemouth. No disrespect to them, but yeah.
With Bournemouth, unlike some of the other teams that we've played and have met and have struggled against, Bournemouth don't sit back and soak up pressure. They do try and go at you, and that plays to into our advantage,
Yeah, totally. But we are a counter-attacking team, and we were... that's exactly what we want.
Yeah. So it was a much more professional performance in that respect, really. Didn't take us long to take the lead, and it's Sadio Mane.
It is. It's a great cross from Jordan Henderson. And it's sort of... He gets a glance on it. Doesn't actually... I mean, it's a sort of... He gets a head... Sort of... the cross loops over the top. Mane has a sort of glancing header. Doesn't actually make much contact. Obviously gets saved. And so he just buries the rebound.
That really sort of broke the ice, considering that a lot of these games where we'd struggled at home, especially with the amount of draws that we had, it was not being able to score early had been a real problem. So
that's it.
This was a real benefit.
You get it in early, and you're sorted, really, aren't you? Well, maybe not sorted, but you relax into the game immediately, and it becomes a game where you can start playing free-flowing football rather than getting cagier and looking to snatch something. It's a confidence thing.
Yeah, and the rest of the first half was actually a bit frustrating because we had so many chances to double the lead and we couldn't take any of them. Salah missed chances, Firmino missed, Mane missed as well. And we actually went into half-time 1-0 up, and I was still a bit nervous.
I'm trying to remember where I was for this game, to be honest. It's weird because I can normally remember where I am for them really.
Yeah.
It was the 14th of April, wasn't it? So it was.
Yeah, it was a Saturday evening. I was at home. I do remember that. But yeah, no, it was a frustrating first half, and actually through much of the second was the same thing. And Bournemouth were well organised, and funnily enough, did sit back quite a lot against us. And it would have to take something special to break them down. And boy, did we see that.
We did indeed. And again, just paying tribute to Trent Alexander-Arnold here with an absolutely sublime cross. Picks up Mo Salah from right out on the touchline, flings it over. Just Mo Salah bounces it off his head. It was
I mean, to be fair, Trent Alexander, not only was it a brilliant cross, he was up 40 yards back, so it was barely a cross so much as a really long and direct pass. Brilliant run from Salah, and basically Salah backwards on the run lobs the keeper with a header.
Yeah, it was it was slightly like that one Marco Grujic scored against, was it Barcelona?
Yeah, in pre-season a couple of years ago.
Yeah, just a real sort of looping lob header. It was. I mean, for me, what was beautiful about that is the cross.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's the assist almost more breathtaking than the goal for that.
Which says something considering how good the goal was. So.
Yeah, it does. But I just love Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I think we're getting getting. Well, you like anyone from the academy, to be fair. So.
That's not true, Matt. That's not true. I've not got a lot of time for Jerome Sinclair, as regular listeners of this podcast will know.
Yep, because he can off.
He can off. Family-friendly podcast. And it pains me to say it, but I think Curtis Jones is a bit of a tit.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure I like him, Matt.
But what evidence do you have to suggest that?
He's always on his bloody phone.
Oh.
It's like, mate, stop taking bloody selfies and celebrate with everyone else properly.
Isn't that what all the kids are doing now?
Well, Conor Masterson isn't. He's solid. Big fan of Conor Masterson.
Oh, good. And hopefully we'll get to see him at some point. If not this season, maybe next. But with 2-0 up, it's all looking fairly comfortable. We have to see one fantastic double save from Loris Karius to keep out. I think it was Dan Gosling in the middle of the box after a bit of poor defending. It's a brilliant stop from Karius, again proving that number one shirt is sort of growing into that role superbly. And then just to round it off, just because obviously Mane and Salah have scored, the other one of our front three has yet to score until the 90th minute where Firmino finishes it off.
Well, that's it. You couldn't have it without Firmino, could you?
No.
And again, very tight angle, very similar to the goal he scored at the Etihad a few days earlier.
It's a bit closer, but yeah, on the turn, on the spin, and buries it. Just to add a bit of gloss to it.
And just to reward him for that, he then got subbed for Dominic Solanke.
Hey, I don't like all the criticism of Dominic Solanke. That is irking me, I have to say. So.
I mean, it's half justified, half not. What was quite amazing about Dominic Solanke is he's made 21 appearances in the league this season at the time of recording, and that's in total, I think he's played about half an hour.
Well, that's it. So I don't think it's fair to judge.
No, but
he's 20 for God's sake. Give him a chance.
Yeah, but 20 is quite old for a footballer these days.
He's a granddad.
He is, but he's very close to being over the hill.
And far away. Which is
far away.
Gary Moore song, if you like Gary Moore.
Or it's the opening to the Teletubbies.
Is it?
Over the hills and far away, Teletubbies come to play.
Oh wow, it is.
I wonder if the two are connected.
What, Gary Moore, the guitarist from Thin Lizzy and the Teletubbies?
Yeah, I think we should look into that. There's a scoop here.
Well, I'd love to interview Gary Moore, but sadly he passed away about 10 years ago, so...
Well, funnily enough, so did the guy who played Tinky Winky.
He did, didn't he? Yeah, I remember this.
When was the last time we saw him in the same room?
Good point.
What's that Bob Geldof? You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't know what you're saying.
Oh, well, we'll come back to that.
Fine. Yeah, and so actually, we don't have a midweek European game this time around. We actually have a whole week to prepare for a game against basically already relegated West Brom.
Yeah, and I was really hoping that we just use this to play the players who didn't get on the Merseyside derby, basically.
Yeah,
I was hoping this would be the debut for Camacho and dislikable Curtis Jones and lovable Conor Masterson.
Yeah. West Brom, of course, basically already down. They just sacked Alan Pardew and had Darren Moore in charge, who's
Big Dave.
Yeah, Big Dave, Baggy's legend, and an all-round lovely guy, so I hear. And I wish him well. I wish him well, but
I wish him well, but I wish we absolutely hammered him on this occasion.
Well, it looked really good. I mean, if you look at the lineup, again, the Champions League was in midweek, so we had a couple of players rested. We played Joe Gomez, who'd been out for a long time, but he was back and starting straight away.
Been out since the England game, but he got called up for in March, so about a month.
Then Ragnar Klavan played with Virgil van Dijk. Moreno did get a start at left back this time around, and Danny Ings played up front instead of Bobby Firmino. Yeah.
And Camacho, Masterson and Jones didn't even make the bench.
No, well, I guess emergencies are emergencies, and however poor West Brom have been, we haven't done that well at their stadium in recent years.
No, well, especially not this season. This season we'd already played them twice in the FA Cup, and we'd drawn one and lost one.
Yeah, somehow the team who are getting relegated by a long way, we can't beat them.
I know. Like, what the hell is that all about?
Dunno.
And that's bloody Alan Pardew, who I cannot stand.
But it's also Liverpool, and it's kind of to be expected.
Yeah, that's true.
So, anyway, it didn't take us long to take the lead in this game, and boy, did I celebrate this goal.
Oh, what a moment. What a moment. Danny Ings.
Yeah.
His first Liverpool goal in 2.5 years.
After everything he's been through,
After 2 devastating injuries. His first goal since Brendan Rodgers was our manager. just for context of how long ago that was. And it was a proper steal as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, sort of, didn't the ball fall to him after another shot and a deflection and he just rammed it home?
Not exactly. It fell to Gini Wijnaldum. And Ings basically ran in there and took it off the end of his boot and just blasted it. It literally took it off the end of his boot. I mean, if you were Wijnaldum, you wouldn't mind, would you?
Not for Danny, no.
No.
Even if Gini hasn't scored away from home in about 3 years.
No. Although this was a... Of course, this was a away game. Why was I thinking this was a home tie?
I don't know.
But, he just wheeled away and just roaring. Do you know what I mean? You could see the emotion sort of force its way out of him.
And as
probably the best celebration of the season in terms of just how much it clearly meant to him. Yeah,
and I think we kind of said this. He may not this might be his last season with us, and he may end up having to go elsewhere to get game time, which is understandable. So if this ends up being the only goal he scores, I'm just so glad he got it.
Yeah. I hope it's not. I hope he gets one at Anfield before he goes, in the sort of Ricky Lambert syndrome.
Mm.
But
Danny Ings has actually scored at Anfield, so that's the difference.
Yeah, of course. But it'd be nice for him to get one more since he's come back.
At least he got one.
Exactly. He just needs Solanke to get one now in his sort of 30-second cameos. But and so it was a great start. Not much happened after that.
No, it was quite frustrating, really. West Brom sat deep, well organised, as you expect of West Brom, even though they haven't been like that at all this season. And we were left very frustrated because we should be more than 1-0 up going into half-time, really.
We should be. But like you say, we were sort of in control. West Brom weren't giving us too much back. I mean, they haven't been giving anyone too much back, but... going at half-time 1-0 up. You know, not what very exactly the most exciting
No, it wasn't really.
scoreline to begin with, but you know.
As I said, with the Bournemouth game, going in 1-0 up always makes me a bit nervous because there's been so many times this season and throughout history where we've sort of thrown away games we should have won by not finishing them off. And through most of the second half, that was kind of the same thing as well.
Yeah. We did eventually break it down, though. Not even break it down, but just make for breakthrough, I suppose is the word I'm looking for there.
Yeah, double our lead.
I mean, who else was it going to be?
It's Mo Salah. He seems to want to score against everybody. 2-0. He did, Salah breaking that kind of resistance and seemingly finishing the game off. Again, it's a lovely little dinked finish, extremely similar to when he scored against Man City.
Yes, it was. It was very similar. It was just, we thought that was it, didn't we?
I mean, yeah, 2-0 against a side who are going to get relegated. Surely that's it.
We thought that would finish him off, and actually all it did was spur him on harder.
It's quite unbelievable how we've managed to throw this game away.
Yeah. And yet, as soon as they scored one, you knew we were going to, didn't you?
Unfortunately, yeah, just over 10 minutes to go. Jake Livermore bundles one in. And sets
Jake
up
Livermore. Bloody Jake Livermore.
A nervy last 10 minutes.
Yeah, nervy in some ways, not nervy in other, because you just know full well where it's going to go. Do you know what I mean?
In the back of our net.
Yeah. In kind of heart-rending circumstances on the 89th minute. Rondon, wasn't it?
Yeah, concede from a set piece, because of course we do. Whips in from a corner and Rondon gets his head on it, and in 10 minutes we've managed to throw the game away.
Yeah, it's absolutely... I was furious with this.
Well, it was totally...
It's ruined my day.
Totally...
I've had such a nice morning, Matt. I've had such a nice morning.
What have you been doing?
Well, I've just been doing some stuff with the Labour Party, but it was sunny and it was warm and there was a saxophone player, and I thought, and I was going into Oxford to get the bus to Birmingham, and I thought, I'll check, Liverpool 2-0 up, we're about to relegate West Brom, beat Darren for the first time, and then I was angry for about half an hour.
Yeah, well, you're always angry when we don't win anyway, but...
I know, but actually kind of day-ruiningly angry rather than just pissed off. It was not fun. It was not a fun place to be.
Well, the worst part of it was a totally pointless result. That helped nobody. Right, West Brom are going down. We needed the points to ensure that we're sort of safely in the top four. Them coming back helped no one.
Yeah. And it was just annoying because you know what I'm like when I like to beat the managers we haven't beaten before.
I do.
And it's always people who end up getting relegated.
It is,
or
isn't it?
Getting sacked.
Yeah.
It's always people we don't get. It's for lack of a chance for revenge that gets me.
Yeah, this is
the
true.
same with Pepe Mel. No one's going to give Pepe Mel a job again in England if they've got any sense. So we're always going to be stained with the fact that Pepe Mel got a point off us.
Yeah, this is I know how much this means to you. For me, I was more just thinking,
this keeps me up at night, man.
It's results like this that, one, have cost us a chance at the league title, and two, jeopardise a top four place that a few weeks ago had looked very comfortable.
Oh yeah, not so long ago we were talking about second.
Yeah, whereas now I just wanted fourth to be guaranteed.
Oh, you just sort of... It was games like this where you just wanted the season to be hurry up and finish, you know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly, particularly with our European exploits. It was almost like it was a distraction from actually being there again next year.
Yeah, it was.
So, and I quite enjoyed because Jurgen was furious after the game, and he said one or two choice things about how... he said something about how they dried the pitch and how it basically meant they couldn't play football, and it's like they probably won't be doing that when they're in the Championship next year. Yeah,
it was some quite gutting comments that probably didn't, weren't
warranted.
He let himself down a bit there.
Yeah.
But it was quite funny.
It was. So, Anyway, yeah, so top four is now looking a bit nervy, but we move on from that, and it's that Champions League semi-final. Our first Champions League semi-final in, what, a decade?
Yeah, well, here's a stat for you. Our first ever Champions League semi-final, not against Chelsea.
What? Really?
Obviously, it's Champions League rather than European Cup, so this is post-1995. But, yeah, the first time we've ever played in a Champions League semi-final against a team that wasn't Chelsea.
That's an amazing stat.
It's mad, isn't it?
Christ. Well, yeah, and it's AS Roma at home.
And it's... how were you feeling beforehand?
More confident than I was against Man City.
Yeah, I think I was. Yeah, I think I was feeling quite confident. I was watching it at the pub with my family, and again, a couple of slightly nervy moments in the opening, a bit like the Man City game, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, for the first 20 minutes, we were a bit under the cosh. We were sort of second best, and Roma came with a plan. They played very high with a back three. They wanted to push onto us and play their game, and we didn't start particularly brightly. It took a bit of time for us to get going.
It did.
Yeah.
It definitely did.
But the first time we made a break through on goal, first time we made a break past their defensive line, Sadio Mane was basically clear through on goal because they were playing such a high line that if we could just get one ball right, we were in. And Mane ran through and then promptly blazed over the bar.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a catalyst for another extraordinary period of football at Anfield in Europe.
Something truly remarkable happened against Roma. I mean, it took a while because, as you say, Sadio Mane was missing him left, right, and centre, and he did have one in fairness chalked off for offside as well. In fact, actually, if we mentioned offside, can we just draw attention to the linesman issue in this game?
Yes, of course.
Which was sort of hilarious. His flag broke, and he put it back together and it broke again, and so he gave him another one and that broke, and there was just this wonderful 5-minute section where everything he touched turned to shit, and it was just falling apart in his hand.
Didn't he end up for a while just using the stick?
Yeah, and Bobby Firmino, I think this must be a first in Liverpool history, was marked offside with a stick rather than with a flag.
Yeah.
The linesman just basically pointed at him like some sort of wizard. It was wonderful.
That's amazing.
But yeah, on the 36th minute, I'll tell you what this goal reminds me of.
Go on.
Daniel Sturridge. Daniel Sturridge,
yeah,
in his prime, Seville, 2016 Europa League final.
I mean, it's as important.
As important, and just for kind of confidence of it, swarming with defenders, similar position, just on the other side of the box rather than on the left-hand side. Just completely unfazed, just floats it in and just off the post, tucks it in. Sturridge used the outside of his boot, whereas Salah didn't, but it was just the positioning of it and I don't know, it just really reminded me of that Sturridge goal.
Well, yes, as Owen has alluded to, but not quite explained yet, Mo Salah, against his former club, scores one of the goals of the season.
I probably should have said that bit as well.
Yeah, Mo Salah, just on the edge of the box. It's postage stamp perfect, right in the top left hand corner. I mean, Alisson, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, in the Roma goal. I mean, there could have been three of him; they wouldn't have stopped it. It was a goal befitting a player of Salah's ever increasing quality.
It was delightful.
Yeah.
And like you say, it just started this mad, sudden, it was still another 10 minutes. You kind of, I don't know about you, I kept saying we need one more before we go in for half time. And literally with 2 seconds to go before the 45th minute. 44-58. Who gets a goal but
Mo Salah.
Mo Salah?
I mean, Bobby Firmino plays him through, and Salah doesn't make the same mistake that Mane does, and Corley beautifully finishes it over the keeper. I mean, from the moment the first goal went in, it's suddenly like we'd sussed out Roma, we'd worked out how to play against them. Because as I said, they were playing three men at the back and playing a really high line, which is basically suicide against us. Because all you have to do is throw a ball over the top, and you've got Mane, Firmino, and Salah just running at you. It's frightening. I mean, why would you play like that?
I mean, it was a serious managerial failure, wasn't it?
Yeah, and well, I'll talk about some of the comments they made at the end of the game, but yeah, he didn't take any of the blame for that apparently. There is one other thing though, some really bad news actually, that happened in the 18th minute of this game before any of this had happened, and that's a season-ending injury to Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Oh,
of course, God, yeah, that was awful.
Making a challenge against Kolarov, totally, fair challenge, innocuous, catches Kolarov's leg. And
I mean, a hard challenge, but a fair challenge.
Yeah.
It was a proper, yeah.
Yeah, and Kolarov didn't mean to hurt him at all. It was totally accidental. But Oxlade-Chamberlain ends up doing damage to his ACL, and he won't be playing anymore for us this season or in the World Cup. I
mean, you could just see as he went down, he was just like squirming with pain, wasn't he?
Yeah,
it was,
bad.
It was horrible to see.
Because he'd been for a while arguably one of our best players and had made that position.
He had. Yeah, it was really difficult to watch. We should also mention, actually, that the difficulties on the streets of Liverpool beforehand. Liverpool fan Sean Cox left in intensive care after an unprovoked attack by Roma's so-called supporters. Certainly some people from Rome, but just came over to Liverpool with the express intention of causing trouble and not watching a game of football.
Yeah.
And obviously our thoughts here at Plastic Scousers go out to Sean Cox and his family. And yeah, there really is no place for that or excuse for that in modern football. And we hope he makes the speediest of recoveries. No, and of course, Roma were absolutely 100%, in disgust as to what had happened, and we're all on the same team when it comes to somebody's life like that. It's such a shame as well, because Roma as a club had been such a sort of model of class. They'd laid a wreath at the Hillsborough Memorial at Anfield on the day they arrived in Liverpool, and their fans, and I use the fans in the loosest possible sense, really did let the club down. And it was of course a minority of fans. It was only well, it's their kind of ultras culture, isn't it, that they have in Italy? That's it. Which is just, again, kind of bafflingly. Well, you almost can't understand it, can you? No. We just don't have anything like that in this country. It's just football, you know what I mean? It's just football. But I reiterate everything that Owen said. And yeah, we go into half-time 2-0 up. And the second half comes, and we just carry on where we left off. Yeah, if anything, we're more ferocious in the second half. That second goal just before half time, you might have thought that would send Roma in furious, or it would just send them in dejected. It was the latter. Salah, having scored two already, then sets up the third. For Sadio Mane, who'd had a horrible first half where everything he touched was woeful, but it was. He then made up for it by finishing this one off for 3-0. Yeah, he did. It wasn't the best chance he'd had all night, ironically. and he scuffed it. Yeah, I mean, he sort of fell over as he did it, completely hit it, and it sort of bobbled in, and that's exactly what I meant. The opposite of what I said about Man City. And how their heads went feeling this just isn't your night. When, miss hits like that go in, at this point, it was, you could have sort of just sneezed on the ball and it would somehow find its way over the line. I would pay good money to see that happen. I would. And I don't think it's that unlikely. No. I think it's a matter of time. But yeah, it's We're 3-0 up in the Champions League semi-final.
Yeah, look, it's the same as Man City, and we are, Roma are all over the place, and we are absolutely flying. And less than 5 minutes later, it's 4.
Yeah. And again, Mo Salah with the assist.
This time for Bobby Firmino, who got the goal he deserves.
It was just a tap-in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was so easy.
This is the Champions League semi-final, for God's sake.
We were terrible. It was like a pre-season friendly.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. 4-0 up.
It was, I mean, the exclamations would not do justice just how good this period was. It is about as good as we've been in years.
This is, again, one of the all-time great Anfield European nights. There are very few you can... because normally the great European nights are nights where we clinch it back through the jaws of defeat. You know, like the Olympiacos game or something. I mean, this was just... I don't think Anfield's ever seen a night like this before. I really don't.
Well, and what's remarkable, the fact we've said that twice in the same goddamn month.
Well, yeah.
It's testament and mainly to our manager for making this happen.
Yeah, I mean, and for the players, of course.
Yeah, who enact the systems that he wants them to play.
Yeah.
And it's not over yet.
It's not over yet because there's another goal.
There is.
I could not believe it. Sat there watching it, and I genuinely couldn't believe it.
Well, it's important for James Milner to make sure he gets an assist in every Champions League game.
Oh, of course, yeah. James Milner's got standards he needs to adhere to. But,
yeah. And this is his I remember is his ninth assist in the Champions League campaign, not including Hoffenheim, meaning he has the most Champions League assists in a single campaign ever.
James Milner. James Milner. Just unbelievable.
I mean, he is the
What a man.
I tell you what, like Gareth Southgate, better be on that bloody phone.
Well, apparently he has been. I'm going to turn him down. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
It's...
Who knew?
Well, no, I mean, it's, if Milner was still playing for England, he wouldn't be so good for us, would he? So.
No, that's true. This time a corner whipped in and Bobby Firmino gets above everyone. It's 5-0 in the Champions League semi-final first leg.
I just couldn't wipe the grin off my face.
5-0. Oh man,
I still can't quite believe it. Still can't quite believe it.
But this is Liverpool, and we don't do things the easy way, even at 5-0 at home in the first leg.
No. We were caught taking our foot off the gas, really, weren't we? Given everything I said earlier about relentlessness.
Well, the big thing was we took Salah off with 15 minutes to go, and that seemed to shift the kind of attitude, No,
Klopp got a lot of stick for that.
Yeah, whether unfairly or not, the evidence was there, sadly.
This is what I'm going to ask you. Was it, should he have kept him on?
Yes. In hindsight, obviously, yes.
Well, in hindsight,
because we were flying, and quite frankly, I could have seen us getting 6 or 7, and unfortunately, the opposite happened, and we conceded a couple of late sloppy goals that don't assure our, mean that the second leg isn't going to be as easy as we hoped.
True, but if, playing devil's advocate, I know this didn't happen, but how are we to know? We were 5-0 up, and he kept Salah on and pushed him, and Salah broke it. Same thing happened to Salah that happened to the Ox. Everyone would crucify Klopp and say, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, I guess so. It's just tough, with hindsight.
It is, but I think it's probably. I think it was. I certainly saw him coming off and didn't think, "Oh, that's a mistake."
No, maybe you're right. Yeah, a couple of late goals. Edin Dzeko, who I think had pretty much scored in every knockout game up to this point, continued that run with an 81st minute header. No, actually, it's a right foot shot after from a pass, I think. And that, conceding at home was irritating because that's an away goal and that could prove vital going there. And then we concede what I think is an unfair penalty. Handball by James Milner, apparently.
Oh, yeah, no, this wasn't a penalty. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and that won't be the last time that affects a Champions League game for us.
Yeah, it was... No.
Yeah, it's just the shots come in from Angolan, and it's just hit Milner on the hand while he's basically on the floor blocking the shot.
Well, it's ball to hand, and I think it's even a deflected ball to hand off his leg in the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, yeah, not a penalty. Even Milner just looked, like he was laughing at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their captain, Diego Perotti, stepped up, smashed it home. And suddenly, for the last 5 minutes, we're just hoping we can hold on to what we've got, which is just, well, it's only Liverpool, really.
It's a real shame because it had been such an ecstatic night that, everyone left thinking, oh, well, that was a rubbish way to end. When we deserved to leave singing our hearts out after that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. But I argued on the other hand, actually, it meant we could still retain focus. We knew what we had to do a job in the second leg and not switch off like we did there.
Yeah, no, you're right. Although we had seen Roma come back from a 3-goal deficit against Barcelona, and I think everyone was very worried about that.
But we also saw Liverpool take a 3-goal lead away from home and go through. So I know people said that, but I was like, well, hang on, Liverpool did exactly the same. You're not talking about that, so.
Yeah, it was a weird one because it was. Everyone said, well, Roma haven't conceded at home in the Champions League all season, but Liverpool haven't not scored away in the Champions League all season. And
we were unbeaten.
And we were unbeaten. And we did say that if we scored like once, they'd have to score, 5 goals?
Yeah.
And we said, I mean, as it stood, they were going to have to score 4. And I think the one thing we all confidently agreed on was that Roma weren't going to put 4 goals past Liverpool in the second leg.
No, they'd only need 3 because they got to have the away goals. If they won 3-0, they would have gone through, or 4-1 in fact.
Yeah, and as we said, they weren't going to score 4 past us.
No.
That just wasn't going to happen.
But it does mean that we continue that record of scoring at least 5 goals against every team. So
good.
I mean, let's be honest. The whole Champions League run, the amount of goals we scored, the records we've broken, just everything about it had been up to this point, going into the last month of the season, extraordinary.
Simply extraordinary.
And I think us not being in the final, if we'd have thrown that away, which we'll talk about next month, it would have been a gross injustice because we deserved to be in the final based on how we'd played and what we'd done.
I couldn't agree more.
So we shall find out how that goes. No spoilers, but I'm sure you probably already know this. It was eventful. so yeah. But anyway, there's one more game to go in the month of April. And it's another Saturday following a midweek Champions League game.
Yeah,
and we're at home to Paul Lambert's Stoke City.
So another very nearly relegated side in the Midlands.
Yeah. Now, Paul Lambert famously has been to Anfield, 5 times and never lost?
This was his 5th, yeah. It was last time he came, he dumped us out of the FA Cup.
With Wolves.
And
he's also beaten us several times with Villa over the years as well, so. Yeah, he's just something about him at Anfield. Just always seems to be able to do it, so...
He's the opposite, he's the anti-David Moyes, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. And, I mean, we made a few changes for this game. We had a huge issue with centre midfield with... obviously the Ox being out, we now really only had 2 central midfielders fit, and considering there was a midweek Champions League game to worry about, it ended up meaning
and we did have to worry about it. You know, like you say. So
we ended up with a sort of slight change, in that Joe Gomez came in at right back, Clavan came in at centre half, and Moreno played at left, and Trent Alexander-Arnold moved into midfield.
Yeah, which was sort of nice to see.
Well, that's where he's played for most of his academy career.
Yeah, a glimpse of what was to come, possibly.
Well, I wonder whether that's his future role. I mean, not that he didn't particularly impress in this game, sadly, but I do wonder whether his future might be in a kind of, almost not to compare him to one of the greatest fullbacks of all time, but I wonder whether there's a bit of a Philip Lahm about him. Sort of a right back who can play defensive midfield and generally has the brain to play in those kind of positions and doing the different jobs.
He's sort of doing a reverse Mascherano, isn't he?
Mm.
Kind of Mascherano's career, but backwards.
Yeah.
Now he sort of moved to fullback in his last few days.
Yeah, and centre half.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was but this was like the Everton game, really. This was another dire affair. Had a couple of them this month.
It was. Well, they were all after big European games, weren't they? It was a. Yeah.
And I have to say, like, we don't. It's something funny actually. We rarely sort of have a dig at referees on the podcast. I think generally we understand that their job isn't that easy, and we're sort of quite forgiving, and generally those don't affect the results of games. But I do want to bring up just how badly I felt, particularly Mo Salah was treated. Like, Eric Peters just had his hands around him and was rugby tackling absolutely every time he got on the ball. I mean, I understand man marking, but the fact he continued to get away with it was laughable.
Yeah, it was. It was. Well, it was classic Stoke.
Yep.
Let's be honest.
Yep.
And it was just it was.
I mean, Salah should score early on. He misses a 1-on-1, went through on goal after about 3 minutes, which wasn't not really like him.
No, that was very surprising.
Yeah, he just thought, this is in. This is 1-0.
I mean, that sort of set the tone for the day, really, didn't it? Just if Salah's not scoring, it's kind of like, wow.
No.
This is yeah.
Well, Ings did score, who did start this game instead of Sadio Mane, but sadly was disallowed rightly for offside. But I mean, this was a dire affair. It just really was poor.
It was. There's very little to say about it, really. It's a shame that it wasn't a couple of days later, if I'm honest, because we could have ended the month with the Roma game.
Yeah, instead of starting it next month. But that will make the next month's podcast more exciting.
Well, I meant the Roma game where we scored 5 goals.
True,
I mean,
yeah. This
it's a shame that wasn't the last one of the month.
Yeah.
We had to end on some damp squib.
We had to talk about this game. Although I will mention the fact that there was a massively blatant handball by Eric Peters at one point during the game that wasn't given, which kind of makes my point, and again off the record, even more makes my point when you see today, and that other Roma game, that we actually not had a lot of decisions go our way this season. I don't think. I certainly don't feel we have, really.
No, I don't think we have. With penalties as well.
Like, how is the Milner one a penalty and this not? Apart from that, it ends a 0-0 draw. As I say, we haven't got much to say about it. And it's another bloody pointless result. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
It didn't help. Didn't do Stoke any good in saving them from relegation.
No, and it jeopardises our top 4 place.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what was the point of any of that?
It's the worst case scenario for everyone, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and we were genuinely now thinking, well, actually, a couple of results don't go our way, and this could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, because they were our easy games. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were the games we had left, which they were our bankers, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And instead, it was down to Chelsea, and which they suddenly got something to play for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we've given them that opportunity.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, this, again, way too many draws against lesser teams this season has cost us badly.
Yeah, definitely. It really derailed us.
Yeah.
You wonder where we'd have been if we had actually killed off games a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, even chasing down Man City, we might have had a better chance. But hey ho, that is the end of the April games, and on the one hand, it's looking hugely promising as we will get to the Champions League semi-final second leg, which I still can't believe I'm saying. And,
I know. With 1 foot in Kiev.
Yeah, suddenly it's all becoming very real, but also a very important top 4 chase that we have to make sure we get right.
Yeah, although, if we win the Champions League, we can say bollocks to finishing in top 4.
Yeah, but it's a bit like when we won it in 2005. We ended up finishing 5th in the league and we're pretty poor. This is like a carbon copy of that,
Yeah, well, no, see, I think we've been a lot better in the league this year than we were in 2005.
You think so?
Yeah, oh, much better. Much, much better. Like, 10 times better.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
We didn't really deserve higher than 5th.
No.
Whereas I think we deserve, in 2005, where this year, I think we deserve to be 2nd, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, debatable, but the league, they do say the league doesn't lie. But I do agree that I think we've played football to warrant us being in the top 4 for sure.
Yeah, totally.
So, and that's that. So, we'll move on to the penultimate number in our Despicable 11. Yes, we are almost at the end of finding our worst ever Premier League numbers 1 to 11, creating a full team of terrible Premier League players. We are, of course, doing this to celebrate 25 years of the Premier League and to remember some of the things we'd rather forget. Now, we've got 1 through 9. Of course, last month we added Sean Dundee, probably known by many to be the worst player, certainly to play for us in the Premier League era. But there's still a good list of terrible players, Owen, isn't there?
There is indeed, yes. He's got some wonderful teammates amongst him, including Adam Bogdan in goal.
Who's still here. He's still here.
Still here. Philip Dagan.
Made of glass, of course.
Philip Dagan made of glass. Paul Konchesky.
Whose mum hates Scousers.
Mum hates seemingly everyone. Is it Bjorn Torkavame?
No, it's Istvan Kozma in the number 4 role.
Istvan Kozma. I always get those two mixed up, and I don't know why.
It's so bizarre. But yeah, he's not
I've
Eric.
mentioned this before.
Yeah, he's not Eric Cantona. He's Istvan Kozma.
Yeah. Torben Peachnik, I think, was in there as well, wasn't he?
Yes, if you go down to the woods today, you'll find Torben Peachnik.
He will. Don't ask what he's doing. Whatever you do, just don't ask.
Well, I tell you what he's doing. Tell you what Mishra Pellegrino is doing. That's not a lot right now.
Yes, he was centre back as well, wasn't he?
Yes, he is.
Who did we have in midfield?
Right midfield, of course. My favourite worst player of all time, Antonio Nunes, the ball boy.
Of course, how could I forget Nunes Bull Boys?
Yeah, exactly. Number 8, the attacking midfield role. It's Toad in the Hole, Joe Cole. So.
Toad in the Hole, Joe Cole.
It was a Twitter parody account from last year. Don't worry, it's fine.
Yes.
We don't have a nickname for him.
That'll do. Toad in the Hole, Joe Cole.
Yeah. So we can just go with Joe Cole. I think that's what we decided on last month.
Yeah, it was. It's like.
But today we are doing number 10, which is a kind of catch-all sort of number. It's sort of more difficult to explain. Last month, of course, number 9 is more typically easy to understand. A typical striker, the out-and-out goal scorer. This number 10 role is a bit of a collection of different types of forward players. Ones who maybe didn't play as a striker, but maybe sat behind as a second striker or a number 10 or a centre forward type role, or maybe played wide as well as striker and sort of mixed up those positions. And actually I've got a couple of nominations myself who were strikers who also played as sort of midfielders, certainly back in the early days of the Premier League before kind of all these different roles started to appear. Owen, as we were discussing off air, there's one very, very obvious nomination for this category.
Yeah, do we want to start with him or do we want to finish with him?
I think we should start with him and then we'll because it's fairly obvious, I think.
El Hadji Diouf.
Oh, good.
El Hadji Diouf, formerly the African Footballer of the Year, when we signed him, one of the hottest prospects around. He'd just come away from a fantastic World Cup with Senegal, making their debut in Japan and Korea in 2002. And I think at the time everyone considered us very lucky to have him. In fact, he was seen as the person who would take us to the Premier League title. Yeah, Christ, he was terrible, wasn't he?
Oh, I love him. He was signed at the same time as Salif Diao, also from that Senegal squad, am I right?
Yeah, we had a sudden burst of Senegalese input at Anfield. Actually, he started quite well. He scored twice in his first game at Anfield.
Against Southampton, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, in August. But it kind of where it started going wrong was that March, wasn't it? So he had a decent couple of months, and then we were playing well, I say a decent couple of months, is that March was next time he scored. So he had a very dry couple of months.
Yeah, he was sort of in and out of the team and playing out position, and yeah.
But yeah, as against Celtic in the UEFA Cup at Celtic, and about 3 minutes to go, after a bit of a ruckus in the crowd, he just turned around and spat at a Celtic fan.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Gerard Houllier said at the time, that will follow you around for the rest of your career. You're never going to live that down. And here we are, 15 years on, still talking about it.
Yep. No, he never scored for us again after that.
No, he's that was it for him, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was with us for 2 years. That first year, of course, that being the end of that March, in 2003, and then 2004, 2005. Was it 2004, 2005?
2003, 2004.
2003, 2004. That's right. Thank you very much.
His second season.
His second season for us. Didn't really play or played out on the right wing. Interesting fact, Owen, I don't know if you know this, he is the only Liverpool player in Premier League history to have a whole season without scoring a goal as a number 9.
He is, yes.
Even, think of all the terrible number 9s we've had.
Oh, yeah. It's a good job Dominic Solanke's not number 9, isn't it? That's all I'm saying at this juncture.
I'm just really, really glad that Firmino's got the number 9 shirt, because we already know that he's good, so it's fine. Yes.
Although, he was touch and go for a couple of months. But, yeah, I think what's especially notable about Diouf was his arrogance, you know what I mean? It was the fact that he was not only one of the worst players to ever play for us, but he genuinely thought he was one of the best.
Yeah.
He thought he was better than Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
And he has said multiple times, look at me, I'm South African Footballer of the Year, I was a hero in my country, I did all of this. Steven Gerrard's rubbish. What has he ever done for England? What has he ever done at World Cup? Like, who cares about Stevie G? He's a poor man's El Hadji Diouf.
Doesn't he call himself Mr. Senegal?
Yeah,
Which is beautiful, because Sadio Mane has always proved as much better than him.
Yeah, he's not even the best.
Senegalese player for Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. It's,
Oh man, I mean, he had a serious attitude problem to begin with, and apparently no one liked him. No one liked him at the club. None of the staff liked him. Gerard Houllier realised he'd made a complete, a boob, should I say, trying to sign him as a player. And after a couple of years, he was loaned out and eventually sold to Bolton under Sam Allardyce, who is pretty much the one manager who actually got something decent out of him.
Well, there's a reason for that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, because 2 terrible like minds, maybe.
They're both as horrible as each other.
So, they bring out the worst and best in each other. Like a terrible married couple.
Didn't he get done for spitting when he was at Bolton as well?
I feel like he might have done. I know that there's a load of other stories.
Yeah, I mean, he ended up being quite a spitter, I think. Who was it against Arjan de Ziel, if you remember him?
Didn't he play for Portsmouth for a while?
Yeah, I think he got spat on by El Hadji Diouf. Actually, a proper, gob of phlegm in the face.
God.
From very short range. He turned into a bit of a journeyman after that, didn't he?
Yeah, he moved around a lot. Went with Sam Allardyce to a couple of clubs. I know there's one awful story of where he broke Jamie Mackey's leg in a challenge and then started abusing him while he was down hurt, thinking he was faking it.
Where was that?
I don't know. I think QPR. I know that Neil Warnock was manager of QPR at the time, and he was at Blackburn. Yeah, it was Blackburn. So he was Blackburn QPR when he did that. And that's an atrocious thing to do anyway. But then what's amazing is Neil Warnock then signed him next year for Leeds, despite how much they hated each other.
Well, yeah, he went on record, Warnock, calling him. I think he said, I would call him a sewer rat if that wasn't an insult to sewer rats. He's actually lower than a sewer rat. And then, a couple of years later, we signed him for Leeds.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. But again, there's a chap who's not always the sweetest.
No.
Ray of light.
No, sadly not. As you say, various attacks on Gerrard and Carragher during post-year, which continues really. He still every so often pops up, after Gerrard's book was released, and then what was it? Oh, what did he call Carragher? Oh, can you remember?
No, but it was something like yeah, he really did.
And I remember because Carragher now uses it to his advantage, like he almost has taken it up as himself. I can't remember what it is. Oh, I'm really annoyed. Yeah. Either way, there's two other notes I would like to add to that. He was signed in that 2002. Do you know who he was signed instead of?
Wasn't it Cristiano Ronaldo?
No, it was Nicolas Anelka.
Oh, that was it. Yeah,
Despite
yes,
the fact
yeah, of
he'd
course,
been on
'cause
loan for us.
he'd been on loan for us and had been very good.
So,
I mean, not that Anelka's been, he's had some questionable years as well. But
yeah, that's
yeah.
not an ideal situation. And also, do you know what El Hadji Diouf does now, apart from spout off in the media about how great he is?
Well, last I saw, he was playing in the Malaysian Premier League, but I think he's retired since then. I think he fell out with them as well. He couldn't even go to Malaysia without falling out with people.
Yeah, well, he's a tosser. But what do you know? One of his jobs now, one of his part-time jobs, is he's a goodwill ambassador for Senegal.
Wow, God, they're desperate, aren't they?
I mean, what sort of goodwill are they hoping for?
That is ridiculous.
So,
I can't believe that.
It's absolutely true.
A goodwill ambassador. My God.
For
For the national team or for the actual country?
the Senegalese government.
For the government? Oh my God, who'd touch him with a barge pole, for goodness sake?
The Senegalese government, apparently. I mean,
Unbelievable.
they haven't got many famous exports, but I feel like Sadio Mane's sitting there like, guys, hello?
Well, we don't want Sadio Mane doing bloody governmental business. We want him focusing on us. But Christ, there must be So surely Salif Diao would be better for goodwill than El Hadji Diouf. Do you know what I mean? Salif Diao's quite a nice bloke, by all accounts.
Either way, I think it's going to be very difficult for us to look past him.
It is, but let's take a peek past him and see who else there is bubbling under.
I'm going to nominate Andriy Vorinin.
Andriy Vorinin.
Signed on a Bosman, I think based on 2 performances he put in for Bayern Leverkusen in the year we won the Champions League. Apparently that's the only thing that Rafa seen of him.
Which was about 4 years before we signed him, wasn't it?
I think a couple of years, yeah. Signed on a free, which kind of says what you need to know about his overall quality.
Mind you, James Milner was signed on a free, so
and Joel Matip, and yeah, I do agree.
And Kolo Touré.
Yes, no, the legend that is Kolo Touré, but Andriy Vorinin doesn't fall into the category of quality / cult hero status.
No, he doesn't.
Wearing the famous number 10 shirt and doing it such an injustice. The thing is, he wasn't bad. He was just very ineffectual, and actually quite unfortunate with injuries. He was, constantly in and out the side, never really a lovable player. Really, he didn't have the kind of the work ethic of Cal or the talent and skill of someone like Torres. So he was always going to play second fiddle, really. To his credit, he did. He was the best player on the park in our biggest ever Champions League win, when we beat 8-0 against Besiktas in 2007. I think it was.
The
irony being he didn't actually score, but he was the best player on the park that day. He scored 6 times in his first season, but unfortunately most of those were either from the bench or he then had periods out with injury. But I was likening him to Christian Benteke. In that, yes, he did come in and sometimes score some goals and did contribute to the team sometimes. Vorinin missed so many chances to a point where you're thinking, is this guy a striker or like a defender? Because he just can't, he needed 8 chances to score a goal. When you're meant to be wearing the number 10 shirt for Liverpool, that's not acceptable.
No. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know if it was just how he looked or his hair or what, but I remember him as being really old.
I think he looked old, yeah.
He did, didn't he? And he wasn't. He was only like 28 when we signed him.
Well, I'm a year away from that, so.
Yeah, you don't look as old as Andriy Vorinin.
No. Well, isn't he still playing, or like
No, he packed it in a couple of years ago after a season with Fortuna Dusseldorf.
Of course.
He's a manager now, I think, isn't he? He's got the title of observer with the Ukraine managerial team.
So he's a scout.
Which is maybe. Possibly, yeah, but for the national team, so I'm not sure what that involves. But he was a bit like our despicable left back. He didn't pull any punches when discussing, the standard of lifestyle in England.
Yeah, this was something I was going to mention.
He particularly criticised Scousers for the way they talked. The high crime rate in Liverpool and the sort of general state of the NHS. He was just complaining that, there were always police cars because Steven Gerrard lived nearby him and had been burgled. And it's like, well, surely that's good that there's police cars there, isn't it?
Yeah, but he was comparing it to Leverkusen, which is not, it's a quiet sort of German town. And he also talked about, when I was in Germany, there were lots of good clinics and doctors. There's nothing like that here.
It's just...
What a prat.
I mean, what a weird thing to complain about. He called Scouse a peculiar local native accent, and sometimes I have absolutely no clue what the guys are saying.
The thing is, we can laugh about it now, but at the time it was a bit of a dick move.
Well, it's just not the sort of, you really do wonder why, who convinces footballers that these sort of interviews are a good idea. I didn't dislike Andriy Vorinin, despite that. He was a bit like you say. He was a bit like a subpar dirt cow.
Subpar coit, like the things you throw on the beach.
That's it, yeah, on a cruise ship. A subpar cow in that he was just, he was the sort of unglamorous workhorse that didn't work quite as hard
and wasn't quite as good. Yeah, you're right.
But he put in a few decent performances for us, like you say, and was it against Toulouse he made his debut? And I just remember him thinking that he was emblematic of our decline, really, towards the end of the first decade of this century, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Towards the end of Rafa's time, we sort of, we had Torres, and then we also had Andriy Vorinin. Before you knew it, we had Andriy Vorinin and David Nagog. Yeah, and then we had David Nagog and Milan Jovanovic. And that sort of slow decline that happened for a couple of years, it sort of, he was the standard bearer for that, the herald.
Yeah, very underwhelming and never really good enough, sadly. So
he hung around for ages, didn't he?
I know, it's another one of those that you didn't realise was there for so long.
Yeah, January 2010, he finally left.
Didn't he go on loan or something?
Yeah, he did. Hertha Berlin, and then he got a bit of an injury and did a sort of Bogdan, and just didn't leave. But yeah, weird.
So there we go. Andriy Vorinin, decent nomination. Still doesn't beat Halil Diouf, but there's others to come, aren't there, Aaron?
Danny Pacheco, not a bad bloke. It's hard. This is the thing. We've turned out some really disappointing players. But they're disappointing because we've convinced ourselves they're quite good. Do you know what I mean? So Danny Pacheco came through the academy he's been scoring for fun. He's supposed to be really good. He came from the Barcelona academy. He was the best player in our reserves. He won all sorts of reserve team level competitions when Gary Ablett was manager. He made his debut in December of 2009, so in Benitez's last season with the club, and he played 4 times in the league that season.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. As a substitute, came on against Wolves on Boxing Day for his Premier League debut, and then in a 0-0 draw with Fulham. I mean, that sounds exciting. And then a 4-0 win over 4-0 win over Burnley, and a 0-0 draw with Hull on the last day of the season, where Jack Robinson made his debut. So not exactly, if you can't score against Burnley and Hull, and this is Burnley of 10 years ago, not Burnley of now, it doesn't look great as a youth prospect. Well, I guess the telltale signs were there when he gave an interview and he said that he was, he aspired to be the new Yossi Benayoun.
No way.
Which is, he said he'd been trying to copy his moves.
No offence to Yossi Benayoun, he was a great player.
Got a lot of time for Yossi Benayoun, but you don't. Nobody aspires to be Yossi Benayoun, do we?
That's really harsh. Poor Yossi Benayoun.
I mean, in Israel, they probably do. You probably hear in Israel, and rightly so. I like your sleeping Aid. And actually, that's a harsh comment, and it reminds me of a comment someone made about Andriy Vorinin, where it was a commenter saying, "Oh, Andriy Vorinin, an unglamorous player. No little boy's ever going to have a poster of Andriy Vorinin on his wall." And I thought, oh, that's kind of sad.
It was more sad. It was more sad because you had one.
No, but after that, I really wanted one, and I still haven't got one. So maybe I'll have another look. But
I'll buy you one for Christmas.
Deal. Thing is, you actually will now. I know you're gonna rub this conversation, and on Christmas morning we're gonna unwrap a bloody 6 foot poster of Andriy Vorinin, and I for one cannot wait, man. But what I mean is, if you're at Anfield, in 2009, if you're training with the Liverpool first team, and you've got players like Torres, you got players like Gerrard, you got players like Mascherano, and he'd have been there while Xabi Alonso was there. And you're trying to pick up tips from Yossi Benayoun. I just feel there's a lack of ambition there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do understand. Yeah.
But yeah, he played 5 times in the league for us. He played kind of implausibly 17 times overall for us, right up to the end of 2012, which was the Brendan Rodgers era.
Good God!
Like, again, another of his players who it just seems completely baffling that they would have been around at the same time as each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he played in the same team as Jordan Henderson.
God.
And that's like, you feel surprised there's an overlap there. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
In fact, he played against. It's weird. I don't know if there's many players who have done this. Maybe Carragher and a couple of others, but he played in the game where Jack Robinson made his debut, and became the youngest player. And then 2.5 years down the line, he played in the game where Jerome Sinclair came on as a sub and took the record off Jack Robinson.
Wow, he was playing in that game.
Yeah, he was playing in that game.
Whoa. Did he ever score for us?
Pacheco? No, he didn't.
Oh, shame.
But he did. But this is what he played in the same team as Raheem Sterling.
Wow.
I mean, that's just weird, isn't it?
The mind boggles.
It does boggle. The mind really does boggle. They played together against young boys, and it's like, how is that? How is that make sense? It's like, and I've said this comparison before, but it's like when you find out that Thomas Hardy and Hitler were alive at the same time.
Yeah.
It just seems weird that Danny Pacheco was still playing for us in Brendan Rodgers' first season at the club.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I didn't realise he was there that long.
That's 4 managers he outlasted.
Wow.
But he just wasn't very good, really.
No. Well, I've just been looking at him. He's now at Getafe by the look of it.
He's been there a while, I think, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, but between 2014 and 2017, he got 3 consecutive promotions to 3 different clubs.
Oh, wow.
All from the second tier to the first tier of the Spanish league.
He's basically the Spanish Kevin Phillips.
Apparently so.
He's one of the few Spanish players to have ever played for Liverpool and not have played for the Spanish national team.
It's becoming an ever shorter list, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Danny Pacheco. It's a bit harsh because obviously he was still young and just never really worked out for him. But
he is. I mean, in isolation, you'd look at him and think it was a disappointment. When you put him next to someone like Diouf, you think, bless him.
Yeah. No, I do agree.
Yeah.
Someone I think would probably be more warrantable, or certainly, again, someone we thought would be better than it was, mainly because of the way the manager bigged him up, was Brendan Rodgers' first signing, Fabio Borini.
Oh, yes, I was going to mention him.
Yeah. He was a victim of the hyperbole of Mr. BR, sadly, despite never really being of LFC standard. So the idea was he sort of came in and maybe I don't know if I got this wrong, but I sort of considered him to be quite a sort of versatile. I mean, he's perfect for this category because he basically play anywhere across the front line. Maybe to replace the versatility of someone like Dirk Kuyt, who left the year that he joined. Or the year before, or the year after, in terms of being able to fill in across a number of positions.
I think he was intended to have more flair than Kuyt would. Do you know what I mean? He seemed a bit more of a skill player than a workhorse like Kuyt was.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the one thing Fabio Borini had, here we go, here's a nice relation. Fabio Borini and Philip Dagan have something in common, and that's they constantly get injured. So during the first half of the season, after he signed for us, he broke his foot. And missed a couple, 2.5 months out. Came back in, first game, dislocated his shoulder and was out for another month. So completely.
Yeah, that's the same as Antonio Nunes, isn't it? That's exactly what happened to Nunes.
Yeah, except but it sort of derailed any opportunity Barini might have to cement his place. For the rest of that season, he was sort of not really in the side. Did he score? He scored once for us, I think, that season against Newcastle, if I remember.
Yeah, quite late on in the season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was not until like March.
So when so the next season we ended up loaning him out to Sunderland during the famous 13-14 season, where he did pretty well for them, helped keep them up. Bit of a local favourite up in Teesside? No.
Wearside.
Wearside, that's right.
Yeah.
T is Middlesbrough. It was up then to basically, he came back after that season, and I think Sunderland put in a ridiculous offer for him at the time. We accept it and he turned it down.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, we accepted like 25 million for him, and he said no, I want to stay here. That's like half a crown out loud.
And he cost us a bomb for that.
One thing he had to do while on loan at Sunderland though was score the winner against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Which at the time looked like it had given us a Premier League title.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, and Chelsea, weirdly, he used to play for.
That was his first club, no? Or
yeah,
Chelsea
club. And Swansea. Yeah.
Well, that Swansea, of course, is where BR had seen him in the first place and decided to buy him for Liverpool. As you say, he decided to stay for that season and cost us a load of money in the long run to form a formidable front three with Lambert and Balotelli. Yeah.
That's the stuff dreams are made of. Sometimes I think that's a better front three than we have now, Matt.
Is it mainly when you've been huffing glue?
Mainly when I've been huffing glue.
I've been telling you to stop doing that. Despite starting up front where at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid, it didn't work out for Barini, sadly. And he left to finally join Sunderland for about a pittance worth more, compared to what we could have sold him for.
He was never quite as good when he went back, was he?
No, well, Sunderland were on a downward trajectory, and he just sort of, it never really worked out from there. He maybe been unfortunate with injuries for us, particularly in that early period where he could have settled in, but at the same time, it was clear he was never really good enough.
No, and so naturally his next career move made an awful lot of sense, which was a loan to AC Milan.
Yeah, I mean, AC Milan is a phenomenal story in and of itself, so...
He definitely wasn't good enough for us, which is why he's now playing for AC Milan.
Yeah. Man.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
So that's another consideration for this.
I'm going to throw one more in. Nathan Eccleston.
Okay.
Hard to say really, because he did only ever play 2 games in the league for us. Against Fulham. And against, I can't remember. I think it was Wigan.
Yeah.
In the dark days of Roy Hodgson era. It was just again a bit like Pacheco, but never even looked as good. But I just thought if we're including Diouf because of his attitude, we should also mention 9/11 denier Nathan Eccleston.
I mean, that doesn't necessarily affect his attitude towards the club, or indeed the people around him.
Well, it depends. I have a feeling him and Brad Friedel wouldn't have got on too well.
Or Zach Whitbread.
Yeah. Neither of whom really were around by the time he came through. But
No.
Who was the other one we had? Mark Pelosi,
yeah. And maybe one more incoming this summer, but we don't know.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah. Casey Keller. I thought he was past it, but...
He's still at it, despite Owen can be tired, but he can still do terrible, terrible jokes.
Oh, yes.
Interesting nomination, actually. I don't really know, didn't really consider him, don't really know much about him, to be honest. It's one of those players that just passed me by.
Well, that's it. It was just, again, it came through with all this, kept popping up in the Europa League and was supposed to be, our new hope, and just was just crap. He was a sort of definition of a player we kind of pushed through the academy thinking, oh, this is a one, and he just turns out to be... Do you know what I mean?
Where is he
It makes
now?
you realise... last time he played, which was 2 years ago, he was at Becce Scaba 1912 Allore.
Where?
Which is a team in Hungary. Baker Shaba 1912 Allure.
Who are in
which
Hungary?
Is a team. Which is a team that plays in Hungary. In the second division of Hungarian football.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's really turned it around for himself.
That was 2 years ago as well. So.
Yeah.
Christ. Well, wherever you are.
I don't know where he is now. I might find him on Twitter and ask him.
Yeah, just don't mention the war. I've got
on terror.
I've got a couple more nominations. This one breaks my heart, but I have to do it. And he has to be nominated. It's Robbie Keane. He was one of my favourite players outside of Liverpool. But when I was sort of growing up in my, because it was around 2002, 3, 4, etc. And I just loved him. I thought he was brilliant. And when I heard that we were going to sign him, I couldn't have been more excited. I thought for 19 million quid, signing him from Spurs, I just thought, this is brilliant. I'm so excited for him to be there. He had the number 7 shirt. I just thought, this is going to be amazing. Like, I was so excited about it. But he lasted 6 months. Rafa signed him, and Robbie was a striker, or a number 10. Like, he wasn't a winger, but Rafa kept playing him wide left, which was never going to work for him. He was disappointing, funnily enough. I think there's a lot of discussion that said that Rafa didn't actually want him. It was a board that wanted to sign him. We signed him for 19 million, let him go 6 months later for 12, so that was 7 million for 6 months. And he never really got a fair chance to play in the position he actually wanted to play because Fernando Torres was there. And if I'm being honest, I don't really think we ever should have signed him. So.
I see. I don't think we should have got rid of him.
But he was unhappy, and I do understand it.
He was, but I feel we really didn't give him enough of a chance. You know what I mean?
No. We didn't play him in the right position, and I'm still convinced Rafa didn't want him. So.
No, it was a weird signing altogether, wasn't it? It was sort of. He said it was his dream to play for Liverpool one day, and after that, he thought, well, it was weirdly inevitable. Yeah,
it turned into a nightmare, really. Yeah, that makes me really sad because, as I said, he was one of my favourite players. So I was gutted that it didn't work out for him. Did score a couple of goals, but yeah, never really worked out, sadly.
I mean, it was a minor blip on what has been a very good career for Robbie Keane, wasn't it?
Well, that's it. And that's more depressing for me. He's like, Liverpool was his worst enemy.
Yeah. Although he did say, I think it was always been my dream to play for ... every time he signed for someone new.
LA Galaxy.
LA Galaxy. Well, he's currently making his dream come true at ATK in the Indian Super League.
Is he still playing? Isn't he like 40 odd?
He's player manager.
Oh, is he?
He's player manager of ATK, taking over from Teddy Sheringham.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
That's weird, isn't it? Do you know who his cousin is?
No.
Morrissey.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Robbie Keane is the younger cousin of Morrissey.
Of Morrissey.
Wow.
Of the Smiths and racism fame.
Yes. Couple more, actually. I mentioned earlier on about strikers who played in midfielders, which was more common in a more traditional 4-4-2-ish formation back in the early days of the Premier League, and I've got a couple of nominations from that era. I have to mention Nigel Clough.
That's harsh.
Unfortunately, he's the sort of player who had to live in the shadow of his obviously family pedigree, and it was the worst time for him to sign someone of Nigel Clough's sort of pedigree because Nottingham Forest just got relegated and been through the end of the era, so to speak, that they'd been through, and it was the beginning of Souness's time running the club being manager of the club in 1992. And of course, Souness couldn't sign a decent player if it hit him in the face. And unfortunately, it was questionable for him to be signed anyway. But he, not having that kind of thing with his father being there and all the rest of it, he just never looked like a good player. It was he was actually one of the first examples of a number 10 we ever had, but he never really suited playing as a striker because he was too small, not physical enough, and he didn't really have the passing range to be a midfielder. And yeah, unfortunate really. We just signed him in the wrong time for the wrong reasons, and it didn't work out. And he left, a year, 18 months later, something like that.
Yeah, he scored a couple of crackers against Man United in that time, I seem to remember.
Yeah. But he was certainly not the player I think everyone was hoping he'd be.
No.
But... And that was, 93, I think we signed him? Yeah, 93. And a year before that, the player that we'd signed, who Nigel Clough replaced, was a player called Paul Stewart.
Oh, God, yeah, Paul Stewart was terrible.
He was a completely rubbish striker or midfielder. Again, similar kind of position where he played both. Paid quite a sizable fee for him at the time. And we thought, was it from Spurs we signed him for, I think?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be this kind of midfield dynamo. We were trying to replace key players in that area, like Aldridge and Jan Molby and stuff who'd gone at this time. But he constantly injured, and when he did play, he wasn't very good. He was loaned out several times, where that didn't really work for him either. To many sort of older fans, he is literally up there with Sean Dundee as being one of the worst players of all time. Although the reason we won't be putting him in this category, apart from El Hadji's youth, is it turns out that during his time at Spurs, it turns out that he was one of the players implicated as a youngster in the sexual abuse scandal that's been going around during the 70s.
Yeah, I just want to actually, in his defence, I do want to praise his bravery and his honesty and his dignity in coming forward with that, because it's not an easy thing to do.
No.
And it's, he's, as I'm sure most of us, probably can't imagine actually.
No.
But he was one of the ones who came forward and sort of waived his anonymity to name names and say, look, this happened to me, and it's a remarkable thing to do. And he was an absolutely woeful player for us. But, I think as a person, in the last few years, he's been, in some ways, inspirational to others, I think. So, yeah, fair play, P. Stew.
Yeah, P. Stew.
P. Stew.
Is that his name for him? Pea stew is either a weird broth you make with frozen peas, or the name of some Portuguese defender, like Jesus Pea Stew.
Jesus Pea Stew. And I will try
to pea stew. That's ridiculous. But yeah, no, Paul Stewart had to be considered, particularly because we should never ignore the early period and the amount of terrible Souness signings we've discussed over the last year.
Souness was like a early Roy Hodgson, really.
Yeah, pretty much. But there is only one winner, really.
There is. It can only be Mr. El Hadji Diouf, I think.
Yep, you are, not that you care because you think you're the God Almighty, but you are our number 10 in what is turning out to be
Mr. Senegal himself.
A wonderfully terrible squad that we're building.
This is an awful squad.
It really is. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have the full thing. I might just get it framed and put it on my wall.
Yeah, you should. I might try and make you a sticker album of them.
Well, I've got a little image thing going on that I'm going to release at the end of the year, where I've got the squad in formation with their name and number on it. So,
I'm going to try and assemble a sticker album of our Despicable 11.
That would be great.
How hard can that be?
Probably more difficult than you'd imagine.
Yeah, well, no, I was just saying I don't know what the market for swapsies of Philip Dagan stickers is really, but I imagine it might be quite hard to find.
Well, none of them are going to be.
Oh no, there we go. 99p.
You can buy the old Panini stickers.
Yeah, is in a Switzerland kit. Is that an issue for you?
It has to be a Liverpool kit, really. I'll make some exceptions, but you'll find it.
I don't know if he ever got because they only include sort of 15 players in the Panini albums, don't they, for the League One? For the
Premier League. You're going to have a lot of trouble trying to find Sean Dundee after our discussion on his international career.
That's true.
Anyway, we have one player left to assign, which we will do.
No, there we go. £1.75
for a Sean Dundee sticker.
For a Sean Dundee sticker, again, not in a Liverpool kit, but 99p in his Stuttgart days.
Oh, okay.
This is doable, man. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to make you a sticker album of our Despicable 11.
I will look forward to it. In
It's gonna be cool.
return, I will send you an Andriy Vorinin poster.
Look at that. This is why we're friends.
Because only we. Hey, you still love your Simple Rock gardening book. I know you do.
I do. I was looking at that not too long ago, actually.
And more impressed by how I managed to find a copy. But
yeah, I've never quite worked out how you did manage that. But
Amazon is a wonderful thing.
I'm glad you did.
Anyway, outside of our weird purchasing habits, wasting money on stuff we don't need, it's we've got one name to go for our first 11, D11 as it were, the D11 as I've been nicknaming it, which is the wide left position. So typical left wingers, left-footed midfielders, anything sort of on the left. And I mean, there's a lot of names actually. I've suddenly realised.
There are.
There's quite a few.
Because I've been slowly saying them over the last couple of months.
Trying to work out if they play there. So if you haven't heard their name yet, and you think they're a likely candidate for this to be discussed on this feature, they're probably going in next month. But that's not the only thing we'll be doing with the D11, the Despicable 11 this next month. And Owen doesn't know this because this is a bit of a surprise to him. But we will be having 3 substitute players as well. One will be Owen's choice from anyone that we have nominated over the last year who isn't currently in the squad. Owen will get to choose one, completely free reign, no questions asked from me. I will get to do the same as our second substitute, and then the third one will be a joint decision from us discussing anyone we feel didn't quite make the cut for the first 11 but should still be on the bench.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
So, Owen, get your thinking caps on. Think about someone you feel should be here. You'll get one choice completely, that will be yours, and then we'll also have to discuss anyone else we feel should be there.
Okay, sounds good. Let's do it.
So, that will be the finale of the Despicable 11. But for now, we're almost at the end of the podcast, but there's one more thing to do.
There is, and it's one of our favourite recurring features on this podcast, isn't it, Matt?
Well, it was the first sort of silly comedy feature we ever did.
And that's, we've done some daft stuff down the years.
It's never been quite as stupid as this. This is the third instalment now of our recommendations for some Twitter parody accounts.
That's right. Along the line of was it Steve Bruce at weddings?
Yep.
And
Boring.
Kevin Keegan's Massive Vegetables.
Of course, which we came up with on our second round. Boring James Milner, of course, and now actual James Milner. So.
Yes. We've got something great to talk about next month from actual James Milner.
We do, actually James Milner. Yes, these are essentially parody accounts of footballers throughout Liverpool history and also kind of people involved in the club in other ways that are reflective of their personality or maybe comical or mostly, in my case, utterly ridiculous. Yeah,
mine too. I mean, you've got a lot more from me, I think.
Yeah, I'm spending a few days. Yeah, I just love this. I think it's stupid, and I could do this every day for the rest of my life, and I just have so much fun.
Matt, why don't you start us off then?
Okay, so here are some of my Twitter parody accounts, part 3. The Cotswolds with Emil Heskey, which is Emil Heskey having a trip around the Cotswolds, photos, selfies in amongst the what's in the Cotswolds, I don't really know, trees and stuff.
Trees, dry stone walls, little tea shops.
Exactly, the Cotswolds with Emil Heskey. The same picture of Christian Ziege every day. So a random picture of Christian Ziege every day. That's the same one.
That's my favourite so far.
The magnificent beards of Peter Beardsley. Peter Beardsley, of course, famously never had a beard, but that won't stop us from seeing him in various beards.
Photo shopping some on. Yeah.
Yes. Mark Wright at the rugby.
It says what it says on the tin, I imagine.
Mark Wright at the rugby. Camacho's Gazpacho. Little known fact, Rafael Camacho is a big fan of cold vegetable soups, and
he is.
He will take selfies with him cooking gazpacho, preparing gazpacho. This is topical. Drenched by Carragher.
Nice.
Yeah, one thing we didn't... Was this April that this happened?
I can't... No, it was after a Man United game.
Did we even mention this on the podcast? I don't know if we did.
No, I don't think we did. I
But,
think we meant to.
yeah, for a bit of context, Jamie Carragher was suspended by Sky Sports after a video emerged of him spitting at a child and a man in a car.
Well, it wasn't at the child. The child just got caught in the crossfire.
At a man filming on his phone, which no one picked up on, for goading Jamie Carragher on his way home from the game. Whilst we don't condone spitting of any kind, it was absolutely an unacceptable thing to do. We do feel it was a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
In a statement released afterwards about the incident, El Hadji Diouf said he's never had more respect for Jamie Carragher.
It's the one time he actually empathised with him.
Yeah.
Anyway, a couple more. Where the hell is Alberto Moreno going?
Where's he going?
Yeah. Well, don't we ask that question every time he's on the field? So this is basically people getting annoyed at Alberto Moreno for not being where he should be, either at meetings, at family events, things like that, and Friedel in a haystack. Which I thought was charming. The head
Is that
of
just Brad Friedel in a haystack?
yeah, Brad Friedel's head attached to various haystacks as if he's hiding in them.
Oh, that's nice.
So there we go. Let's have a few of yours.
Well, that ties in with one of mine, which was knitting Friedel's.
That's nice.
Which was just, and I've not decided yet if that's just photos of Brad Friedel knitting, or photos of knitted Brad Friedel's.
Oh, the latter is brilliant.
Little woolen Brad Friedel's, just that you can download the pattern for and make at home. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's in space.
So he's up in space.
He's up in space. It's just him floating around in space, visiting the International Space Station, the rings of Saturn, just
In space.
galaxies in space, just generally in space. John Barnes barn dances.
Oh, nice.
Which is various gifts of John Barnes at a barn dance. This one I like. Riera or Vieira.
Nice. Wait.
And it's a picture of, it's a zoomed in picture of either Albert Riera or the former Arsenal footballer Patrick Vieira. And you have to vote. You retweet if it's Riera and like if it's Vieira.
It's not entirely Liverpool based, but we'll go with it.
Well, Albert Riera used to play for us, and
True.
it's surprisingly difficult, despite the fact they've both got two different skin colours.
Yeah.
Then there's Glenn Hyson's Gorgeous Pigs, which is our former Swedish player Glenn Hyson, with a selection of his favourite gorgeous pigs.
Nice.
Throughout a month. This one again is a bit tenuous. In that it's not Kenny Dalglish, but it is his Liverpool supporting daughter, and it's Kelly Cates Rates Mates Cakes.
Nice.
In which she just basically does a little video of a cake that one of her friends has made, and gives it an out of 10 rating.
Nice.
Where's Wallace? With Gordon Wallace, who was our first ever scorer in European competition, photoshopped into a Where's Wally illustration. That one's quite easy because obviously everyone else is a cartoon and he's a photograph, so it's quite easy to spot him. From Windows with Walters, which is Mark Walters. Wherever he goes in the world, he just takes a photo out the window.
Nice.
Nicky Barmby's Barm Cakes.
Oh, that's good.
Which is a history of regional cakes with Nick Barmby.
Nice.
Go on, do us a few more.
Your daily news with Emlyn Hughes. So, Emlyn Hughes, cheerily giving you the day's news, however depressing and sad it might be. Robbie's keen, we mentioned him earlier. It's Robbie Keane, who's keen to do things.
Keen to do things, excited about them. Things. This
one's sort of walking the line a little bit. Flanagan and domestic fistfights.
Oh my god.
There is if you've listened to the previous podcast, there is a bit of subtext to that. Yeah, but shall I move on?
Yeah, move on. Move very quickly.
Yeah, this is one that you and I will get, and probably no one else. Hegum or Egham. So you've got there's a picture, and you've got to decide whether it's the town of Egham or former defender Vegard Hegum. It's quite an easy game, I will admit.
I want to play that.
Hegem or Egem. Things Istvan Kozma isn't. Of course, he's not Eric Cantona, so let's see some other things that Istvan Kozma isn't. An orange, the planet Mars, things he's not. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Complicated names with Oyvind Leonhardsen. So, it's Oyvind Leonhardsen and discussing other people's complicated names, throughout history. And things Jay Spearing can't see.
Oh.
So, little Jay Spearing struggling to see over a fence or a hill or a particularly large lady, all these things.
A particularly large lady. Okay, do you want a few more of mine?
Please.
Wing walking with Warnock.
Nice.
Which is photos of Stephen Warnock on top of various aeroplanes. Concorde, the Red Baron, the Sopwith Camel, etc. What did I get to before? Iago Bus Pass.
Oh, cool. How would that work?
Well, it's Iago Aspas trying to get from Anfield to Celta Vigo only by local buses.
Nice.
With a pensioner. Hydroelectric Adam, as opposed to hydroelectric dam. Hydroelectric Adam.
Adam.
Which is Charlie Adam exploring various solutions to fossil fuels.
Nice.
Inter Milan, Barosh.
Right.
Probably can't go into that one, that's quite rude.
Yeah, it's got X-rated.
Scales for Scale, which is just various household objects next to John Scales, so you can see how big they are compared to
scale.
Yeah, Scales for Scale. So it's like, that looks like quite a big kettle, but I can't tell. So you log on to Scales for Scale, and you'll see just how big it is next to John Scales. That's only up to about his knee, which I suppose is quite a big kettle because he's quite a tall guy. Great album covers of music history with Samad Yessel.
I mean, that would be fascinating.
Which is again his various iconic covers like Sgt. Pepper's and the Pink Floyd one with the rainbow and all, but with Samad Yessel's face smack bang in the middle of them all.
What about Nirvana's Nevermind?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that would little known fact that actually is Samad Yessel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is, yeah. I can't think of any other great album covers. I've not looked at his Twitter account for a while. This is my last one. Bolo Zenden, war photographer.
That's amazing.
which is some of the most iconic and defining and sometimes harrowing images of conflict of the latter half of the 20th century. But with Bolo Zenden with a Polaroid camera.
Oh, so we see him taking those photos.
We see the photos. We then see the photos from Bolo Zenden's perspective.
Yes.
And then we see him in the photo.
Ah.
There's a great one of him chasing a girl out of a Vietnamese village.
I wouldn't call that a great one.
Oh, it's great for him though.
Yeah. Well,
knowing what we know about Bolo Zenden.
Yeah, and not the Vietnam War. Yeah. So, well, amazing. Thank you for those. I've still got quite a few more, but I'll rattle through them.
Keep them coming.
Coffee shops with Steve Agrizovich. So it's Steve Agrizovich and his favourite cafes across the UK. I like this one. This is an idea, but I also like it. Poulsen and Peachnik. So, like a comedy double act of Christian Poulsen and Torben Peachnik. Doing sort of back and forth gags on Twitter. Poulsen and Peachnik. Salsa dancing with Milan Jovanovic.
He's very good at salsa dancing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would love to, and then we get to learn about salsa dancing with Milan Jovanovic. Robertson or Robinson. So again, the comparison, but this time it's Andy Robertson or Andy Robinson, or Jack Robinson, which would then lead on to Robinson or Robinsons, where you've got to work out if it's Andy Robinson or a bottle of squash. Again, it's quite easy. It's quite an easy one. Rigobert songs, which is his favourite songs of Rigobert song. Michael Stensgaard on North Korea. So it's
on North Korea.
Yeah. So it's Michael Stensgaard's opinions and analysis on the North Korean situation. Apparently he's quite passionate about that. Recycling with Nabil Alzar. It's recycling advice from Nabil Alzar. I don't know. I always like to put in a heavy metal one, just because we've had Adam Morgan's Heavy Metal Nights, famously was one of the early trendsetters, and then Mellor's Mosh Pits. This time we've got Masterson's Metal Masters. So some of his favourite musicians throughout the world of metal over the last 50 years.
Nice.
Nights Out in Newcastle with Alan Navarro.
Alan Navarro never even bloody played for us. He come into it for.
He was in our squad. He was in our teams.
Squad.
Yeah. Having Nights Out in Newcastle. Depths of the Wild with Alexander Arnold. No one knows, Trent Alexander-Arnold is actually quite a fan of the bush, so to speak, and living out and learning about living with nature. So Alexander-Arnold can do that. Don Hutchinson explains things.
Just anything.
Yeah, just anything. He just explains them. Danny Murphy's favourite fish. Again, quite self-explanatory. It's just his favourite fish. And finally, my final one. I've said a stupid one. We mentioned him earlier. But who knew that he was such a fan? Suriname and Guyana with Alberto Riera.
Is that supposed to rhyme?
No, that's the point. So Alberto Riera is such a fan of the two Principality states of Suriname and Guyana, and he.
Why not the French Riviera of Albert Riera?
It wouldn't have been as funny.
Fair enough.
Plus, I wanted to get Suriname and Guyana involved somehow. I couldn't think of a better rhyme. So yeah, that is those are some of my parody account suggestions. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I know we have a few new listeners. I don't know how, but suddenly our listenership doubled recently. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you've got any questions about anything you've heard over the last couple of hours, you can message us on Twitter. I'm at MTH Simpson.
I'm at OGB Collins.
Or, of course, you can check us out on Twitter at Plastic Scousers, or you can find us on YouTube by searching Simpson and Collins. Most importantly, get on iTunes, get that podcast subscription on, click subscribe, get them downloaded, and enjoy. We are very grateful for anyone who does tune in.
Yes, we are. And if you do want to see what happens when we take our Twitter accounts too seriously, do also look at Keegan's Veg.
Yeah, that's the one that's stuck, isn't it?
Yeah, that one really hit home.
I should. Well, I mean, mainly because I played a joke on you on one of our parties, the first one. Yeah, and tested you with it. Anyway, yeah, thank you very much for listening. And yeah, it's all coming to the end once again. I can't believe how quickly the time's gone, I have to say.
No, it's kind of scary, isn't it?
But yeah, May podcast, and until then, we'll speak to you in a few weeks' time.
We'll speak to you in a few weeks. Yes.
Yeah.
Have a good May.
Enjoy, and what is it? Ale, ale, ale. I can't remember how it goes.
Ale, ale, ale. Ale, ale, ale. Ale, ale, ale. Ale, ale, ale.
Oh, I am a Liverpudlian, and I come from the Spion Cup. I love to sing, I love to shout, I get thrown out quite a lot. We support the team that's dressed in red. It's a team that you all know. It's a team that we call Liverpool, and to glory we will go. We've won